It says we're live. And some of you are going to look at this and you're going to be like, Todd, is that a mess behind you? Are you sitting on the bench seat out of a 2011 Ford E350? Um, yes. Yes, I am. This is the bench seat, complete with seatbelts, out of a 2011 Ford E350. And yes, there is a mess behind me. But you know what else is behind me? This is Lucy, and that's Frank. And this this is the first live show from the new pole barn, the new shop, the new world headquarters of Frontal Discussion. All made possible because of this little guy right here. This is an Ethernet cable, and some of you are going to be like, Todd, what's so special about that? That bad boy is running all the way into the house. So I have internet out here. That's right. We have internet. And you know what the best part is? We passed the electrical inspection. That's right. Those bad boys up there are not on an extension cord anymore. Also, we passed the final inspection for this whole place. So as far as the government is concerned, it's done. That's a good feeling. Okay, that's a really good feeling. I was very stressed out about it. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. But we are live from the pole barn. Tonight we're going to fly off the cuff a little bit. I'm paying attention to the comments. So thank you all for being here. Kyle says, whoa, you're alive. I am alive. Barely. Barely. You will hear me coughing. I've got a couple of these bad boys to try to stem that. I am getting over pneumonia. We're going to talk about that. I am happy to answer any sort of questions you guys have. Race car related, life related, anything related. So, yeah, that's what's happening. That is tonight's show. Now, the nice part is they're only going to get better from here because one race car, two race cars. The third race car is just outside there. I do have to move some stuff. You can't see it, but off camera here, there's kind of a pile of stuff, and race car is going to go in there. So, hell, every time you come on here, you're sick. I've been sick lately. It has been a minute since we have went live, since we've posted anything. I'm sorry for that. I really am. I'm going to get real with you guys for a minute, and it's okay. Don't worry. It has a good ending. It's real lighthearted towards the end, but this has not been my year. I've had a couple really cool things happen. This is going to bother me if it stays in front of me. I've had a couple really cool things happen this year. I had my buddy Ben Ferris come from Australia and hang out for a couple of weeks. Got to take him racing this year. Got to actually put him in a race car multiple times, which was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun hanging out with Ben. Got to hang out with some really cool people. Got to do a couple neat things. But in general, this has not been my year. Across the board. Jason asks, what front brake fans do you use? Believe it or not, actually, I can't get them down because they're up here. You can't see it, but this is a shelf full of parts. I use bilge blower fans off a boat. Actually, I could probably look them up and show you because we're on StreamYard. We are live, by the way, on Facebook and YouTube, so check us out on either one. And this is tonight. You guys are going to have to bear with me because I am answering questions. So if you guys have questions, I'll answer them as we talk, okay? Let's see, Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. So they make dedicated brake blower fans, and they are probably better than what I use, okay? These are just, I don't use this exact one, but let me share this with you real quick. Okay, so this is just an Amazon page for it. But this is the type of fan that I personally use. It is just a bilge blower fan. They hold up pretty well, except if you get rubber in them, so you really need some sort of protection in there, even if it's just pulling air from, like, honestly, what I do a lot of times, I'll have them pointed down. That way rubber doesn't bounce up in, but like rubber getting in between the fan blades kills them. But otherwise, I've had good luck with just boat bilge pump blowers. But like if you scroll down, you can see like there's a bunch of different ones here. I don't even know how much CFM. I don't know if it'll say. I don't know. Like I don't know how much this one is. I mean, it's one of those things of, let's see here, features and specs. Mounting type versatile. Right. Yeah, it's like it doesn't say how much it shows. But yeah, that's basically that's what I use. So Tim, I will check messages after this. So I'd like to see NCTS come to the New England for a race. Dude, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. So, all right. If you have a race car question, throw it out there and answer it. But we're going to keep just kind of moseying along. Okay. Where I was at was that I was saying that this hasn't been my year. I was supposed to start a job in June, and we are just now starting it. Like literally today, we kind of practiced it. So, yep, there's that. So the pole barn even, that's part of the reason why I haven't been live for a while. I got an email from the county that my building permit had expired a while ago, but I basically had 14 days to bring it up to compliance or face a lot of negative things. They could charge me a fine, which would have been a lot of money. They could have made me reapply for all of the permits, which would have been all new planning and everything, which would have been about $1,500. All the way to, if I didn't do any of that and they felt like it, they could make me tear this thing down. So I talked to the wife, and we had already gotten an extension once, so I couldn't get another one. I got to bring this leg out here. I couldn't get another one. And so we talked about it and was like, I'm just going to go hammer down. And that's what we did. So it took me a while to clean the barn out. My brother-in-law, John Culp, of Union City Speed Shop, Culp's Auto Salvage, helped me out tremendously. He loaned me a 10-foot rolly ladder, which allowed me to, you guys can't see them, but it allowed me to get the lights up. It allowed me to get some of the stuff on the wall, get the electrical done. It also allowed me to do some of the trim on the outside. But we went hammer down and got all of the electrical done, got all the trim done, everything. And that's why I'm so happy that we passed those inspections. And the county worked with me really well. Like I don't fault the county for it. It's been 3 years. So 3 years ago in early September is when we broke ground for the pole barn. So it's been 3 years of working on this thing to get to this point. Okay. So that's why, like, I don't blame the county. I should have just paid the Amish, right? But that's been the last 5 weeks. And in that period, I came down with something and got hit hard. I had a expired COVID test that looked sort of positive, but I think that was the start of it. It turned into pneumonia, and I spent 2 weeks doing nothing. I'm still, you're going to hear me cough a few times. That's still my pneumonia kicking in. Over the course of this year, I blew the motor up in my daily driver van. I bought a van for the motor. It was nice, so I was driving it, wrecked it. I fixed and was driving my a streetcar Neon that I have that was a daily driver. I checked the oil, and somehow 2 days later there was no oil left in the pan. It's still a mystery, but I rod knocked it and essentially blew that up. So yeah, and then when Ben was here, he blew the motor up in Doc, the one and only car I had close to racing. I have absolutely had the crap slapped out of me with a bunch of random stuff going on, and it's no secret. I've talked to all of you watching before that I struggle with my ADHD and I struggle with my mental health sometimes. And the last few months have been exceedingly hard on me. I have been inside my own head hard. I've talked to some friends, which has really helped. My wife has been amazing. My kids are amazing. They're a ton of fun to be around. So like I'm doing okay. Like don't worry about me. I'm okay. But I've had a lot of stuff just slapping me around. And I'll be honest with you guys, we took my dad's car to Bristol, and that is the highest and lowest I've ever been in racing in a matter of 15 seconds. I made some pretty awesome moves. We took the lead at Bristol. Not officially, but we took the lead, and I was going to win that race. I had it in my head. I was going to win that race, and I was going to have to wreck to stop me from doing that. And that's what happened in the course of half a lap. And that was defeating in a way that I probably can't explain to most of you. Because a lot of you are gonna, you're gonna hear that, and you're gonna be like, oh man, you led Bristol. Like, you first off, you got to race Bristol, which is awesome. And then you led Bristol. Like, I would feel so amazing. I've raced Bristol every year, and I've been top 5 in times almost every single year. I've been top 10 in times every year. Like, I've been fast. I've been a threat to win, and to take the lead and to finally feel like it was coming up, everything was coming up Millhouse, and to just have that ripped out for me was defeating. When Ben was here, I did drive Dad's car a couple more times. I finished 5th at Kalamazoo with the National Series. I finished 2nd at Kalamazoo, or at Springport, in a heck of a race. Might have won that one if caution had come out, but it's not my car. I felt like I had some unfinished business in Dad's car, but it wasn't my car. Like, I don't fault my dad for not getting back in the car. Like, his car's good. It's not wrecked, which is what I wanted. But like, then we blew up Doc, and I couldn't go racing again. So I finagled. I got another motor for Doc. We were going to try to make Super Shoe, Michigan Cup, and then try to make the brackets. And then I got it together, and I had small problem after small problem after small problem after small problem, and I didn't get to go racing again. And I tell you guys all the time, and I still mean this: if you can't afford to go racing, don't. Right? And I couldn't afford to go racing. I didn't get the cars done. I don't have the new motors for the new cars. I didn't have Doc done. I didn't have the money to go racing fully. And when I can't race, it's really hard to do this show, because I love talking about racing. I love watching racing. Like, I love all of it, but none of it compares to climbing behind the wheel. And when I can race, it gives me all the motivation for all of this. And when it's been over 2 years, almost 3 seasons. And I haven't been able to race. And it's all my own fault. We tore Lucy down to try to build Frank, and I just needed a motor. Like, if I had to put a motor together, we could have continued to race Lucy, and I could probably put Lucy back together. Like it's me, right? But it is so defeating to not be able to race. It really is. Now, having said all that, okay, I'm sitting in my pole barn with the electrical done. Technically, the government I have a 220 welder plug. You can't see it. It's over there. I have my outlets. I have my lights. I have everything I need to start working on race cars, to start filming videos, right? You can't see my toolbox because it's over there because like I don't want to show it to you because it's an absolute mess. I do still have a little bit of organizing to do, but I have my shop at my house. I can come out here at 10 o'clock at night after I put the kids to bed and I can work for an hour or two. I can work on my race cars. I can work on filming stuff. Like I have that excitement back. I am excited for next season, and I don't know if I'm going to have either of these two cars out. I might just get Doc out. I might just get the Cavi project out. Okay. But I am excited because I get to go racing again. I get to make content again and have it be relevant. Okay. So yes, this last year slapped the shit out of me. The last few months have slapped the shit out of me. Mentally and a little bit. Now, one part of being sick the last couple weeks, I'm down like 15 pounds. Okay. Like legitimately, I'm down like 10, 15 pounds. So so there's some bright side to not being hungry because you're sick, right? So I got the new job. We're starting it up. So I'm gonna have a little bit of money, and it's kind of working for myself. I'm working as an independent contractor for a guy. I'll tell you guys what the job is and stuff in the subscriber group. Yes, that's still going. There's about 100 people in there, and you guys have been a lifesaver. All my subscribers, I wouldn't blame every single one of you if you had left. Every single one. Like I've had a few people like, yeah, man, you just like you weren't doing anything, and I'm like, no. I get it. Like I am so surprised that there's still as many people around as that there are. Like that means the world to me. Okay. Like it's still crazy. Okay. I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. I got a couple questions here. We're gonna talk about them. Okay. And then we're gonna get into a little bit of the future stuff, where we're going from here. Okay. But just do keep in mind, I did just talk for like 20 minutes about how things were really getting to me. I was down. My mental health was not where it should be. But I have some great friends. I have great family. I am doing okay. I am in a really good place right now. I have a lot of really positive things happening. And I want to tell you, if you are struggling, reach out to a friend. If they don't want to talk to you, find another one. If you can't find anybody, reach out to me. Okay. If you are struggling, there is no shame. There is no dishonor in trying to find some help. If it's somebody to talk to, if it's professional, if it's medication, whatever you need, please reach out to somebody, get some help. You don't have to struggle. Okay. I've had a lot of really positive people in my life. I don't want to name them all off. If you're watching this, you know who you are. I have some friends who check in on me all the time, and they've helped me get through this. Like, there's been some bright days, right? And my kids, like, look, I'm not going anywhere. This isn't one of those of like, man, I was so close to. No, I'm not going anywhere. Okay. I wasn't me, right? There's nothing wrong at all with asking for help or reaching out if you are having a hard time, if you're having negative thoughts. Listen, I've got some friends who I've talked to through this who thought maybe they had some ADHD like I was going through. One of them got diagnosed. A couple people have been diagnosed bipolar. A couple people have been diagnosed with major depressive episodes. There's 3, 4, 5 different things that people have been diagnosed with after seeking help, and their lives have changed because of it, because they're able to get the help they need, whether it's medication, whether it's therapy. Please, if you're having a rough go of it, reach out to somebody. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. I get it. I'm a guy. We're not supposed to ask for help. We're not supposed to be there. But listen, we all struggle. And sometimes all you need is somebody to make you smile, to make you laugh, to turn your day around. All right. There's no shame in it. Okay. Now we're going to get into some race car questions. If you guys have more race car questions, please ask them. I am all about that tonight. And thanks from here. Things are going to get better from here. We're talking a little bit tonight but tonight is 100% just that I can do this. So, and by the way, I am reading all of these. Thank you all for the love and support and positive words. So, Drew Davis asks, what is your opinions of the rules in traveling series and local tracks? Do you think series cars should be legal for weekly racing at local tracks, not like some tracks actually enforce rules? So I am not going to try to make this a massive rule discussion because we could do a 2, 3, 4 hour show on that. But I will say that I personally, um, I, I believe there is a place for traveling cars to race locally. We do it here in Michigan. It can work really well. Okay. However, I do believe some things are track dependent, and I do believe that tracks need to listen to their racers. I can't tell you how many local tracks have destroyed a front wheel drive class because they listen to some jackass who's never driven a front wheel drive, who's never gotten a lot of front wheel drive cars, who's never been able to do positive things, right? Um, we had one promoter that it just everywhere he went, the front wheel drive car count would go from like 50 to like 10, and then he'd blame the drivers. And it's like, it's probably not the drivers, you know? Now, having said that, I believe some of the touring series rules could be getting out of hand. I really liked the previous VORS rules with the stock body allowing you to have noses, tails. I would have relaxed them slightly and allowed like fenders and stuff like that. So far, nobody's gone really over the top with the new one, where they've built like a late model body. But it's technically possible, right? I like front wheel drive cars to look like front wheel drive cars. Okay. That's my own personal opinion. But the traveling series rules are really good as outlaw rules. Hoosier 790, a weight rule. And I'm personally a fan of the way most of them do it. Under X displacement or like a single cam, you're allowed the lightest. Y to Z displacement, a little more, and then like a K series, even more. And if you want to complain about that, that's fine. Don't build a K series, right? It has produced some really excellent parity for a lot of different tracks. However, if you have a track that doesn't enforce rules, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. It really doesn't. Having said that, I also personally believe that any racetrack that has front wheel drives should do one of two things: ABC rules, and then divided on time that makes sense, or have two classes. And for the love of all that is holy, have a distinction besides the tires. Okay. You should have an outlaw class and you should have a stock class. Okay. Your stock class should have tech and tech and tech and more tech. No stupid breakout bullshit. Okay. No, just any number of different ways to slow them down. Just tech them. Don't allow motor swaps. Just tech them. They have to run stock body panels. Maybe make an exception for the front bumper or rear bumper. Maybe. Stock body panels. They have to weigh a certain amount, right? Like, keep them stock and tech them. Allow computer tuning because it doesn't fucking matter and you can't really tech that. Check motors. Check clutches, right? Put them on a tall, hard tire. A 195/70, 300 plus tread wear rating will never put down the kind of horsepower that a Hoosier 790 will. I've done it. Okay. Have an exemption for like a bigger car. Like if somebody's got a V6 car, maybe they can have a bigger tire, but they have to weigh X amount to be able to run it, right? You can have basic rule sets. If you are a track or a promoter and you would like some help with that, I have offered for 5 years now. I will help you with your rule set. I have done nothing but race front-wheel drive since 2007. Okay. I can help you with a common sense rule package, and I will. One beauty of this place is we are going to hold some seminars. We were going to try to hold one in November with my subscribers, and we're still kind of trying for that. I'm working on it. We can hold seminars in here. You can bring your tech crew, and I will have somebody bring me a race car. I will show you my race car. I will help you learn to tech these cars. It isn't that hard. Okay. So, but having said all that, I do believe traveling series cars can have a place at a local track. But ABC or two distinct classes. If the only distinction between, look, we have a local track. They went back and forth on this tire crap and rule crap, and they listened to a bunch of guys who had never raced front wheel drives. And then all of a sudden, we had 4 different rule changes, and they were trying to get the outlaw guys to do something that none of the outlaw guys wanted to do. And so they finally, the only distinction between their 2 class of cars is tires. That's it. That's it. And when that happened, there was a bunch of us outlaw guys that said, what's stopping an outlaw guy from bolting on shitty tires with the big motor, with no weight, with coilovers and all this and that, and coming out and mud stomping? Nothing. This is a bad idea. And they went, nah, it'll work out great. And then a couple cars showed up, weren't even that fast, but they were fast enough. And now all of a sudden, oh, guy, it must be nice to be an outlaw and be in this class. And it's supposed to be for beginners. It's supposed to be this. You did this. You had rules. You decided, hey, I want to do everything outlaw except for I don't have to build a big motor and I don't want to run the Hoosiers. And then, bam, exactly what we told you would happen happened. People were so pissed off about it. So listen to your front wheel drive guys. If you're a track, listen to your front wheel drive guys. If somebody's never driven a front wheel drive, take their opinion last. I'm serious. Now, as Drew says, big money folks want more open rules. Kills classes happen with the minis, happening in the front wheel drive classes now. It absolutely can. That was why I was a big fan of stock body panels. That was why I was a big fan of limiting cars in some way, right? I do not believe that you should be able to have a tubular K member. I do not believe you should be allowed to have tubular A arms. I do believe there should be a weight penalty for big motors, right? I do not believe you should be allowed to have a late model body. I do not believe you should be allowed to have a wedge body. I believe you should have to have steel quarter panels. I believe you should have to have a steel roof. I believe that your roof should be in the stock location. You know, these are all things that are easy to enforce, right? And you can it's not hard to keep these things relatively simple. But the farther we go out, and there's always 1 or 2 guys that want more and more and more. And listen, I was one of them. But I've always tried to make common sense things, right? I've tried like hell to have some parity in the class. And when a couple of the things that I've argued against kind of went to the wayside, all of a sudden that parity started disappearing and people started disappearing from the class. And now everybody's like, well, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? We can do these 5 things. Oh, well, we would lose cars. You would lose like 1 or 2. Like 1 or 2, right? But you might gain 8 or 10. Instead, you got guys dropping down, right? And that's why I really like the ABC stuff too, is because you can have a stock type of car, bolt on used tires. You can kind of do different things, right? I get it, Drew, with the Saturn, but I think you know what I mean with that as well. Like stock body panels, you know, make it look like a car, right? But and you know, we've got guys doing things that for all intents and purposes are they're not even gray area stuff, but nobody can tech it. Nobody's ever going to tech it. And they just, you know, and I hear this all the time. Well, you know, you only need 125. You can win with a stock motor. Okay, but why did you spend $8, $9, $10, $11, $12,000 on a big motor? I get this all the time. I'm glad some of the SCDRA guys have stopped doing the whole, you only need 185 horsepower. Okay, why do you have 290? Why do you have 310? right? This car right here, that one's never hit the track. This car right here, I get it backwards. This car right here, Lucy. Last time I had it on the track, made 228 wheel horsepower uncorrected, or 229 wheel horsepower corrected, 238 wheel horsepower uncorrected. Okay, I've never hid that fact. I've showed my dyno sheet on a Mustang dyno at Force Engineering. It made essentially 230 wheel horsepower out of a 2-liter. I had a pretty big motor. Okay. But I was also racing against guys who had 300 wheel horsepower K series. And I knew that. So I needed to build a motor for that. VCTS levels the field pretty well with their intake restrictors. And you can look at the parity of who wins that class, who wins and who's fast. There's still a shit ton of K-swap Civics. So every time I hear, well, maybe we can relax the weight on that. Well, maybe if you didn't win so many of them. Bristol, that was the argument. Well, a Neon did really well. Yeah, and I weighed more than the K series needed to. Dad's car weighed 2470 with me in it, 2468. So I had that K series weight advantage, which is this massive disadvantage nobody can overcome. And you know who won it for a third time? A K swapped Civic in Mr. Gosser. Okay. So maybe making the argument that because I led half a lap, the K series shouldn't have a restriction while the K series win again. Right? Now, rules are one of those we can go back and forth on all day. But Kyle has it best here. For God's sake, please tech safety. That is my biggest thing. That is my absolute biggest thing. I still, it's 2024, and I still see people who have, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane. The amount of people I see who don't even triple wrap a seatbelt or have their seatbelts mounted. Like the amount of people who will pay somebody $5,000 to build them a chassis and then put $15,000 worth of motor in it, and the seatbelts, they're like, ah, shit, we got to go racing in a half hour. Just bolt them anywhere. Like, and don't worry, because you know what we're gonna do in this bitch up here? Some safety stuff. Okay? Don't you worry, I got you. Okay. But the amount of people who can't weld, who weld up race cars, the amount of just absolute death traps I still continue to see. And for the love of God, wear gloves. I never, ever will understand somebody who does not wear gloves racing. Never, ever will I understand it. I see guys with $2,000 custom fucking suits wearing $350 shoes with just the melty skin that they have. Like, well, I'll get out. I can't feel the wheel. I can't feel that 1-inch piece of rubber. Like, Anyways, yes, that's my big thing. Safety, for the love of God. Safety. If I'm leading the whole race, no one will wreck me. Dude, it isn't even that. Like, I wrecked at Bristol because the wheel fell off. And Top Row had asked the question, but they also said, we tried to talk New Paris into going ABC front-wheel drive next year as their outlaw count struggled all year, and some of their top Hornet drivers broke out, which include championship. Yeah, not a big fan of breakouts. So Top Row asks, what should drivers have on their winter checklist as must-dos? Safety. Check the safety of your car. Mount your belts properly. Mount your seats properly. Buy the safety equipment you need. That should be number one. Hands down across the board, that should be number one. Number two, okay, make your shit look nice. I've kind of made my mind that that's what we're going to go for in 2025 is just make it look nice, right? If you're running stock doors and stock fenders and stock hood, right? Like if you're just running a stock car and you got all those things, throw some new ones on there, okay? Don't get a ball peen hammer and, don't just paint over it. Like hang some new doors on it, okay? Hang some fenders. I know it might cost you a couple $100. Go to U-Pull yard. Find it. Just slap some new ones on. They bolt and unbolt and rivet some new ones on, and then make it look nice. Okay, please make it look nice. Right. So those are my for now. That's my must dos. Right. And then Steve at Wyatt says, doesn't matter how much horsepower you have without having a good handling car. Yes and no. That fully depends on the racetrack you have. Local tracks example, Kalamazoo Speedway. You can run a 15.0 to a 15.5, which is really quick. Fast time most nights is going to be a 14.9 to a 15.1. Okay. You can run a 15.1 to a 15.5 with very little horsepower. If you have a car that you barely have to lift going in and you can get right back into gas, you can haul ass around that place because if you have a handling car, it's a circle, right? But if you take that same car that can fight for a top 3 at Kalamazoo with no motor and you bring it to Springport, you might be in the B main because Springport is a paperclip and it has such high bankings. Like you carry speed into the corner and handling matters. But if I have 50 more horsepower than you, I will drag you down the straightaways. Owasso's turning into that as well, where like you need the car to handle, but because it's new pavement and all that, if you have a ton more horsepower than the guy next to you, you can drag race the shit out of him down the corner and you can still win. However, you're going to be good at Springport. You might be good at Owasso. You won't be good at Kazoo. You won't be good at Galesburg, Spartan. There are certain tracks that handling matters a ton, and there's certain tracks that horsepower matters a ton. Now, I'll also tell you this. If you have an exceedingly well-handling car with low horsepower, and then you just huck a gob of horsepower into it, chances are you might not be any faster because horsepower can upset the handling because you're using 100% of the traction to turn. If you add 150 more horsepower, you're going to, it'll upset the handling. This car, Lucy here, I was going 15.2s, 15.3s at Kazoo with arguably 185 wheel horsepower. I was going 15.2s to 15.4s at Kalamazoo with the same car with arguably 80 horsepower more. Okay. 50, 60, 70, 80 more horsepower. Okay. I went the fastest I ever went around Kalamazoo. It was not in this car, but I had a little peanut motor compared to what I had in this when I was done. And I couldn't go that fast, but it handled so well. I was running third gear instead of second, didn't have as much motor, but it handled so well. It's the best handling car I've ever had there, right? But this car with the big motor in it was about 3/10 faster at Springport than the best handling car I've ever had. Okay. Because it just had 60, 70, 80 more horsepower, right? So horsepower matters, and it matters more with handling. Kyle Trinkline, I tell you, buddy, front wheel discussion. Safety number 1, Pops won't let us on the track with a fire suppression system. I got more money in safety than the rest of my car. I do need a full containment seat, but no funds right now. Drew, you do need a full containment seat, man. Well, you can see it. You can see it here. You can see mine. I actually have 2 of the exact same seat. The orange one is out in dock. So I can use the same seat, and I have a third Kirky containment seat, which actually fits me. These are the 88 series, and I have the 77 series. The plan was to put that one in dock and then put the 2 good ones seats in these. But yeah, you need a containment seat. Sure. So gloves should be worn is what you're saying, asking for people. Yes, gloves should be worn. I do not understand people that don't wear gloves. I do not understand that. And it's a dirt thing. Like, I don't understand it. I really don't. Like, people have tried to explain it of, well, you can't grab your tear offs and, well, I can't feel. If you tell me you can't feel the steering wheel because you're wearing gloves, F1 drivers can change dials and knobs while racing wearing the same gloves at 150 mile an hour more than you'll ever go. You're gripping a wheel. What can't you feel? Also, this is going to sound mean. I've never had anybody give me the excuse that they can't feel the wheel who's been really fast. I'm just throwing that out there. Some fast guys have given me other excuses, but nobody's ever given me that excuse that was really fast. Right? I do not understand. I do not understand. Right? Brandon says, make it look presentable. Yeah, I'm 100% on that. So Matthew says, I remember when you were in the basement whispering, now you're in your pole barn yelling at us. Dude, I've come so far. The first show we did, I used a 10-inch netbook with the built-in webcam wearing my Xbox headset. That was my microphone. That was the first show we did. Yeah. Now I'm talking into a Lumix G6 camera. The cheap one. It's a cheap one. G7, something like that. It's a cheap Lumix with my laptop, with my wireless microphones in my pole barns. And yes, that's the other beauty of it. I can yell at you guys now. I can be as loud as I want, kind of. I mean, I do have neighbors over there, and we don't have this bad boy insulated, but you get the point, right? Yep. So I'm excited about that. Commenting on the Facebook Live, watching on YouTube. Matthew, I love you. Drag race down the straight, stop and order cheeseburgers in the corners. And Top Row says, what's great about our coverage is we show 2 different 3/8 in Kalamazoo and Springport, where it's fun to watch the difference between the two. Oh, it is straight up, too. So, got any snacks? Not with me. Not with me. I just got my drink. I struggled at KZoo because I ran New Paris all year. First time ever racing KZoo. Yeah, I would tell you, Mike, if you can get a good setup at KZoo, you can go almost anywhere. For sure. And Sean says, why, hello. It almost looks like you're sitting in the engine bay. Honestly, I am where the front bumper should be. This is straight up against the bar that's there. But these are the seats out of the back of my van, by the way. Just saying. Yeah, hit the like button for me if you haven't already. I would appreciate it. All 3 race cars going to be ready for next year, or what one is your main priority? Just curious. All right, I'm going to read the rest of these comments real quick. Just a second. I know a kid in our shop has an extra. I might see if let me use it. Like, dude, absolutely. Just borrow it, if nothing else. So I will say this too. So Drew's talking about a containment seat. Guys and gals, sit in containment seats. If you don't have one, just go sit in them. Like, borrow your buddies, sit in their cars or whatever, and find the one that fits you. The one that's in this car, you can kind of see it. It's the headrest right there. It's Kirky 88 series. Aside from a LaJoy seat, it's the most comfortable seat for me. I cannot stand an Ultra Shield seat. I do not fit in them. Even the right proper widths, I do not fit in them whatsoever. Also, this is gonna look really bad, but I have to loosen my belt, my guts. Yeah. Anyways, but I can't stand an Ultra Shield seat. I can't stand one. They do not fit me at all. I got 2 or 3 people that love them. They fit them great. The Kirky 77 series, this is the better series, like the headrest on bolts and all that. The other cheaper one doesn't do that. It moves. It fits me okay. It's not as good as these, but it's like half the price. But find the one that works for you. There's Richardson, Ultra Shield, Kirky, Butler. There's a bunch of them. Find one in your budget, and then like the width that you need and stuff like that. Because again, this is a 17-inch Kirky 88 series. An Ultra Shield 17-inch, an Ultra Shield 17.5, and an 18-inch. They all fit me width-wise. They do not fit my shoulders. They do not fit me height-wise. I don't like them, right? So even though it might be the width that you need, you might hate the seat. So yeah. Should I took him to rock with my knuckle gloves? Yeah, I really don't understand. So I keep seeing LaJoy seats, but man, they're still salty. Dude, LaJoy seats are expensive for a reason. They really, really are. They really are. So, okay. I was going to comment on one of these. So Matthew asked me about race cars and what's the plan for next year. What's up, Jeremy? So that one is a little bit about the future. Okay. Dad has an old LaJoy, which is super comfortable, but the headrest doesn't work with the head and neck stuff, which Dad, I gotta talk to him and see if we can get that changed for you next year. So yeah. And so Top Row's asking, what's the best practice for drivers to seek sponsorship for 2025? We see drivers going various approach, what works the best. I'm not great at getting sponsorship. I'm not gonna lie, like I've got some really cool partners that I've gotten, like Driven Racing Oil, Aeromotive, Proform and stuff like that. ACT, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I went to NPMC. I did this show. I went to NPMC. I talked to like the chief marketing officer and stuff like that for some of these companies. That's how I managed to get with them. I tried a lot of various avenues to get in with them, and it didn't work so great. I can tell you, first off, we'll talk about the cars in a second because that's kind of the future thing. I want to answer this, and then we'll go to that, right? Be mindful of your social media presence. People care more about your social media presence than you might think. If it is all political, one side of the aisle or the other, if it is vulgar, if it is a lot of profanity, if it is what some might deem hate filled, or spite filled, stuff like that, keep in mind that those things will work against you. Okay, they will. Now you might find a company that's like Joe Bob's Hate Emporium. They might drink the same Kool-Aid you do. But the world we live in right now is so divided and so polarizing that if you are forcing people to pick a side if they support you, you're probably not going to do that. Okay? Keep that in mind. Okay? I'm not telling you to not be you. Yeah, you telling me I can't post that on Facebook? And nope. You do what you want to do. Okay? But if you go to somebody and you're seeking $1,000 and it's a business, and you're trying to go to Tiny Tim's Bakery, and they pull up your Facebook and it is nothing but political meme after political meme after that political party's trying to ruin America and they hate us and they're all the work of the devil. Tiny Tim's Bakery might not want to be associated with that. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Which I cannot wait until this election cycle is over. Oh my god, it's not going to end, but I can't wait till it's over. Anyways, you still going to put your studio in the rafters? Yes, that is the goal. That's actually what this that post is for. This is really hard to do. That's actually what that post is for. So we are going to keep we're going to build a loft eventually, but I do still have the studio in the studio. I was actually talking with the wife. We're going to revamp that slightly. So we will still have the studio. Okay, right. And his dad says, here's the other thing too. When you try to get a sponsor, it is not about a sponsorship. It's about a marketing partnership. Okay. You have to provide them something. Putting your name on the race car is the least you worries. Through the front wheel drive shop, I'm in a sponsorship position. I do not care about your race car. I don't. I really, really don't. Okay. I don't care. I care. Like, I want your car to look nice, and I care where I'm on in the race car. But the people sitting in the grandstands are not the people that I'm aiming for. Now, you promoting me on social media to other racers, I care about that a lot, right? And also, if I scroll through your profile and it's nothing but hate-filled political memes and, stuff like that, I don't want to be associated with you. And I don't care, left or right. I don't care. I don't want to be associated with that. So, right? Okay. Now, you can feel free to ask questions. I'm going to talk for a minute. What's the future hold? I mean, that is the whole thing. The title was The Future is Here, right? Well, the future is this barn. My goal for next season is to get one of these two cars on the track at some point. However, we are going to go heavy into getting Doc on the track. I also want to go heavy on getting the Yellow Cavalier project, which Kenny Betts with Stone Pros LLC graciously donated years ago. The goal is to still get that project going as well. That bad boy is going to get worked on outside of this shop. The scope of that project remains the same. The goal of the Cabbie project is to show you guys with basic hand tools that you can field a race car and you can get faster and you can have a good race car. Okay. I'm not even going to work on it in the shop unless I have to. Like, if I want to work on it at midnight, or filming or something, it might be in the shop, but that's just for the video or, to be a good neighbor, right? But I'm going to use my Tecton hand tools. I am going to avoid using an impact at all costs. I'm going to avoid using any fancy tools if I don't have to. Okay. It is truly, I want to show that if you have a dirt driveway and a tow dolly and a basic set of wrenches and a basic set of sockets, you can do almost everything on a race car, right? We're going to use the bare minimum of tools that we have to. And it needs a fuel cell upgrade. It needs the motor swapped around. It needs stuff gone through. I got to mount a seat in it. It has no suspension setup in it whatsoever, so we can progress that. So that is a big future project. The goal is to work on that all next season. Doc, same deal. Dock needs some updates. It's got a lot of good parts in it, but like right now, it needs the brake master cylinder needs replaced. I'm gonna probably have to make some brake lines to be able to do that. The master cylinder is actually so corroded that it's applying pressure at all times. So I have a new master cylinder for it. I've got the stuff to do the brake lines, so we're gonna film that. I'm gonna film some other stuff with Doc on like why you don't need a thermostat, why it's only an emission control, and why some of you don't know what the fuck a thermostat does. Video like that, right? Doc also needs a fuel cell upgrade. I have a fuel cell for Doc. He's going to get an updated fuel cell. We're going to redo the body on him. The goal is to take the body off. It has aluminum skins and reskin it and make it look a little better. I've got some projects for Doc. Doc right now does have a couple of goodies under the hood. They might stay. I might revert it back to stock. I will always be open and honest with you guys. If I have camshafts in the motor, I'm going to tell you that it's got camshafts in the motor. Like I'm not going to hide anything, right? If I put like the goal is to work. ACT wants to work with me. I've kind of dropped off with this last little bit, but the goal is to put an ACT clutch in that car. It's a little bit lighter weight, but like they want to work with me. I need a so I want to do that, right? But I'm going to be honest with you guys that it's in there. I have nothing to hide in that car. And then we're going to race it. And that will kind of be my main car just because it is legitimately almost race ready. And anything I do to it, we're going to do one project at a time. We are not going to tear it all the way down so that it remains raceable, so that next year I can get in a fucking car. Okay. Now, having said that, Lucy here needs a frame rail pulled down. The Honiuses down at BJ's Body Shop have offered to do that. They offered to do it last year. I'm going to talk to them and see if we can still do that. And the goal will be to take this car down there and see about getting it pulled, maybe making content when we do, get the frame rail where it needs to be. I want to blow the body the rest of the way off this. I want to go through, there's some rusty parts on the cage and stuff. I want to redo that and then put it back together. I have most of the stuff to just put it back together, and it needs a motor. So we can put Lucy back on the track. However, this bad motherfucker over here, Frank, I keep staring at it and I'm itching to get this on the track. So we're going to try to work on this as well. I can't tell you which one of these two cars is going to be on track. I do have most of the stuff. I have the stuff to build one good motor, and I have some of the stuff to build a better motor, but not everything. So I might rebuild the motor that was in Lucy and just put her back on the track. And I might try to build a bigger motor for Frank and put him on the track. I might put that motor in Frank if I get it closer, vice versa. I don't know exactly. Okay. So that is my racing plans going forward. And if it's a case of if somebody else wants me to hop in their car, hit me up. Okay. I'm down, right? The rest of the future too. Which, by the way, welcome Justin Bradbury from the YouTubes. I am having a good night. Still getting over the pneumonia, but I'm having a great night. Thanks for tuning in, man. Now, part of what you guys are about to see. So we're a couple days away from the end of the month. The month of November. Traditionally, I take the month of December and I try to go live every day. The last few years. Last year, didn't work out so well. We're doing that this year. I have got a couple ideas already planned, and we are going to do some lives that I'm going to tell some stories. We're going to do some tech stuff. We're going to do some interviews. I'm going to go live every day in December. Okay. Except for Christmas. I do take Christmas off. I'll make a Christmas post. However, right. Just throw that around. It's not expensive or anything. Docker Sam to Bristol in 2025. If they announce Bristol, we'll go. We'll figure out a way to go. If my dad's shoulder's right, I don't think he'll let me drive Sam again at Bristol. But we are going to go live every day in December. But what we're going to do in the month of November, and this is something I've been wanting to do. to jumpstart the page again, to get going, to get some momentum up. NPMC is in January, and I want to show those companies and that hey, I got shit kicked out of me this year, but we are back, baby. Month of November, I'm going to post every day. Now, might be a picture, might be a video, might be a live. Okay. But I'm going to post every day in November. And my goal with that is to actually sit down in the next couple of days at night and schedule out some of those posts. So that way, even if I forget something, bam, it gets posted. Okay. So we are going to post every day in November. All right. It might be asking you a question. It might be a quick little tech tip. It might be a 1-minute video. It might be a 10-minute video. It might be an old video. I've got a bunch of old stuff that I need to edit and post because it's really good content. Okay. I got to get over my perfectionist deal. I got to get that stuff posted. So I got some old content. It might just be a picture. It might be an old racing picture. Like, hey, what's one of your favorite old racing pictures, right? We are going to post every day in November. Okay. And we'll see what happens. And I'm going to PRI. I'm excited to meet up with some of the companies I've talked to. I'm excited to meet up with you guys if you're going to PRI. Also, the goal is to host a subscriber event, a seminar, as you will, for setup and kind of car building stuff, just a front wheel drive seminar. I've wanted to do one for years and years, and I'm finally have a space. So the goal is to try and do that. So I got to get kind of the curriculum around. That is going to be a subscriber only event. It will be November, December at the latest. And then we might do a couple of them. And listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Moving forward, they might be a paid event. And I know that some of you guys might think I'm an asshole for that. But there's 5 years, which that was part of it. Part of what had me in my head. October 11th was the 5-year anniversary of our first show. And I was sick and I didn't post and I felt like shit about it. So yeah, felt like shit. So there's 5 years of tech advice, driving advice, setup advice, almost any question you probably could think of, I have been asked, and there's 5 years of advice. So for me to all condense it down and invite people to my house, and to spend a day with them, feed them lunch. Because listen, if you pay for the event, I'll buy lunch. You can call me names. You can think that's a bad thing to do, but you don't have to come. So I have to work on that. Like, hey, you can still be you can still watch all my videos for free, except for the subscriber stuff. You can still watch all my videos for free. I've never hidden anything. All the stuff that's going to be in the class is probably going to be from videos. It's just all going to be condensed. Might get a little notebook, shit like that. So we are going to work on that. January, February, I might try to do one like a public one, but the first one will be subscriber only. It will be free for them. So yeah. And I will announce that with plenty of time so that somebody could join and become a subscriber to do that. So, okay. It's only $5 a month, right? Now, that is the immediate future. Now, there is one other thing that I am going to do in this shop. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. If you know me in person, I absolutely love stock car racing. Inside my garage right now, my pole barn, there are 2 race cars, and they are both front-wheel drive stock cars. I have a show called Front Wheel Discussion. It's about front-wheel drive stock cars. I love this shit. However, I am a car guy, and I mean that in the largest sense possible. When I talk to some of my friends about D1 drifters or F1 drivers or drag racers or road racers or IMSA racing or all that kind of stuff, right? I get met so many times with a who? Like, how do you not know who Vaughn Gittin Jr. is? How do you not know who Adam LZ is? How do you not know who Max Verstappen is? Like, I have a deep love of hot rods and car culture and all of that. So my goal in the next month or two is to also start a second YouTube channel um, with that is all of my shenanigans. So it's going to be like I've got a go kart sitting out here that I'm supposed to put together for their kids. I'm gonna hop up their power wheels. I'm gonna hop up a lawnmower. Right. I've got some mini. Right over here is one of my mini bikes. I have a second one. This one runs and drives. I have a second one that doesn't. Those random projects. Like just random stuff that is not front wheel drive stock car related is going to be on that channel. I will tell you guys all about that once I have it set up, so you can go check it out if you want to. That is the future of what I'm going to be doing too. Now the goal is to not have that take away from this and not have this stick away from that. There's probably going to be some crossover because in the background of videos, you're going to see these two cars. These two cars are going to be in my shop. Okay. You might see some of the projects for that channel in the background of these videos, right? There's going to be some overlap. I'm not going to hide it. I am planning on, you guys are eventually going to see from the rafters, we are going to hang an American flag. We're going to hang a front wheel discussion flag. And then we're going to hang the Australian flag too, because Ben gave me one. Okay. So we'll have those hung up. My front wheel discussion stuff. Like I want to paint, we are going to at some point somewhere in here. I'm going to hang a panel. It might even be my door. I've thought about using my door is going to be my sticker wall, where if you guys send me one of your stickers, it's going on there. That will be in the background of videos. So that is also a future plan. Okay. And the goal is to grow that all next year by just being able to come out here and weld something together and work on a random project. Like I might get a little burnt out because maybe I don't have what I need to do Lucy or Frank. Fucking, I have a golf cart. The frame is broken. I just broke the frame. I got the electronics working right. I found guys who are airbagging golf carts a really simple, easy way. And I was watching some videos on it, and they're really shitty welders and really shitty fabricators. And I'm like, I could do so much better than that. So I kind of really want to airbag my 1988 Easy Go golf cart. Okay. So I got some other projects I want to do. So that's also in the future, right? Now, when am I going to start my own mechanics business? Probably not. I will say that I am planning on at some point this winter and stuff like that, we are going to start doing some race car work. I've got a couple other projects. I'm talking to some people. We're going to start small. You might see that side of the business grow where maybe I'm doing work for other people. I will let you know if that happens. I will warn you guys though. I've done it in the past. I've done some work for, I've still got, like, it's no secret. I worked on Doug Peters' car. So I have Doc. It's Doug's old car. Like that was part of the deal. I worked on his car for him, and part of the payment was I got that car. It's no secret. I've given Doug a pretty good deal. He got dealt a raw hand last year too when I absolutely scattered his fucking motor. We built him a new one. He went to Bristol, got in a wreck. It broke the oil pump, and then we went to Springport with the new motor that he had in it. And I have never scattered anything like I scattered that thing. I put a hole in the back of the block about that big, and I've never done that before. Right. But moving forward, I'm not going to be cheap. I will not be the cheapest option out there, but I'll probably be the best. Not the quickest either. Might take me a minute. So we'll talk about that later when it happens. I've got some of my own projects to knock out first, okay? Because eventually we're going to put a lift right there, and I want that before I really start working on other people's cars. So this was about the Drew says, have you seen the Full Outlaw Power Wheels drag racing they do down south? Oh yeah, it's badass. I'm not going to go into that extreme, but I am gonna 18 volt convert my kids. I'm gonna use my Makita batteries and swap their stuff around, right? Now, Matthew says, if not next spring, cook out at your new pole barn. Yeah, I straight up, dude. I just had my birthday party here Saturday, which if you were my friend on Facebook, you were invited. So if you didn't show up, that's on you. But we'll have some subscriber events next year out here. I do not want to just give my address out to people, and I will warn you guys, if you do come to something, don't just randomly stop by my house. I don't like random visitors. You will upset me in a way that you don't want to do. So I'm warning you that. But I think you all can understand that, right? Now, Justin asks, hey, Todd, this is a weird question, but have you thought about having another driver to run with you? I was just wondering how to get in. Justin, are you asking about like if me having somebody drive my cars for me? Like, is that what you're asking? Kind of like a car owner situation? Just to double check, I want to make sure that that's what you mean. So what's up, Mr. Culp? Hey, I gave you a shout out at the beginning of this thing for the wheelie ladder. Oh, and the pallet jack. There's a pallet jack back here too that he loaned me too. Which, you know, the random Project Garage stuff, like the random projects and all that. Like, okay, the other YouTube channel back here behind Lucy. Okay, Lucy is closer to me than Frank is. Like they're like this because there's a 302 out of a Fox Body Mustang, a 5.0 fuel injected, complete 5.0 with the 5-speed on a pallet behind this thing. Because I have a 1979 Mercury Zephyr, although I might put it in my Ford Ranger, right? So like I got other stuff to do other stuff, right? Now, Marvin was saying, what about a non-subscriber soda steak dinner? I do still owe you guys a steak dinner. So absolutely. Okay. I randomly stopped by. It doesn't bother me enough to stop. Yeah, you're allowed to stop by though, John. I still owe you. Kyle did the 18 volt for Super Shoe Power Wheels. Yeah, see, you get it, right? Yes, as a car owner, like giving someone a chance to get into racing. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. But talking about the like seminar thing, Sean says, with that, you need a car or two there to help explain what you were talking about. So the cool part is I can actually use these two cars to talk about some of what I'm talking about because the suspension and stuff. However, that is the plan, is to get one or two other race cars here and we can do, I'm talking to a guy about getting his race car here and we can do basically a setup session on it. I've got the scales sitting right there. We'll put it on the scales. We'll adjust coilovers. We'll adjust sway bar. We can talk caster, camber. I can show you how I would do things differently to change the suspension geometry or, mount seat or stuff like that. It'll basically be, the idea I have in my head is that we're going to have a course of like, here's the 10 bullet points I want to cover. And as we're going through them, people will be free to ask questions. And then at the end, we'll cover any topics that we didn't cover. But the idea will be to have one or two race cars here. And depending on the space, because like I can go at least 3 cars wide, but like there's no space between them. The other cool part is, you guys can't tell, I am not even halfway in the garage. Like that is all open right now. I mean, there's a couple small things from a birthday party, like a couple boxes of trash, but this is all open. I could physically right now, if you give me 5 minutes, I could pull 3 cars in here right now. Okay. And that's just to move these little things. So that's kind of the idea of this seminar deal, is to have 1 or 2 cars and we could pull one of them in, put it right here, go around with everybody here. We can push out and out. We can pull the second one in. So the idea will be to have some cars here. So the cool part of that is if you're a subscriber and you live close enough and you want to come and you want to bring your race car, we could go over it. Now it's going to be no holds barred. Hey, here's the safety things that you need to work on and stuff like that. Right. But that is the idea of doing that. So, and John says, I have a set of GT40 heads. Ooh, we'll have to talk. No, the Zephyr deserves that. Dude, the Zephyr does. Like, I love that car. Zephyr needs a 306 with a 4-barrel and a header. I'll have it full in no time. I still have room in the other garage to stop this one from getting full right now. So need another pole barn for every make and model, every 4-banger build. Listen, the goal is to make enough money off YouTube to buy a commercial building with enough space to have a bunch of different project cars. Okay. That is the goal, right? Now, also the Zephyr, I will say this, it has the 200 straight 6 with a C4 automatic. And I'm not going to BS you guys, before it gets this 302, I am going to, it's a carbureted 1-barrel. I'm going to build a blow through turbo setup or a draw through turbo setup. I'm going to turbo that 200 straight 6 and I'm going to swap a 5-speed in it straight up with that 200 with a turbocharger. And if that's not fun enough, I am going to spray the shit out of it with some nitrous. I'm going to have some fun with that Zephyr before it gets to 5.0. Okay. Kyle says, should try late model in 1-car garage. Listen, I am going to try to do late model stuff or modified stuff in this garage also. I have plans. Okay. Now, Justin. So Justin, I'm gonna make an assumption here that you are trying to get into racing. Okay. And Justin says, yes, as a car owner, is like giving someone a chance to get into racing, even if they have to earn a spot for a few races. So, a leaf blower turbo, we might do that too. And Matthew says, I'd love to see you run that NCTS sideboard show next year they just released. Yeah, we might do that. I don't know what next year is going to bring. I won't run it in Doc because Doc won't be that fast, but maybe. Okay. Now, Justin, based off the assumption that you were trying to get into racing, okay, I'm going to tell you some stuff. I want you to know that I am saying this with love. I am not trying to come across as an asshole in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Number one, racing is expensive. Even if you have a car owner, which I was lucky enough to have for quite a few years. This car and this car, both of these cars were built or started to be built with a car owner, with Earl Lewis, Earl and Tina. We won a lot of races together, 50 of them or so. Some championships. We did a lot of big stuff. It was still expensive for me, even though Earl was paying for a lot of the stuff, for the race car stuff. I still had all my own safety equipment. I still put in countless hours on the race car. Like I after the initial build, I got to figure this out. After the initial build of Lucy, which had about 30 people help me, pretty much everything after that was up to me. Now, I say that because I don't want you to get discouraged if you can't find someone who is willing to give you that chance unproven. Okay. Before I got together with Earl, I won 40 plus A main features. I was a track champion multiple times. I had won the mini shoe at Super Shoe, the very first one, Set Fast Time, won it. I won Call of the Wild 3 years running at that point. I won basically every big end of the year race there was to win around here. Earl started talking to me, and I was doing work for him before I started racing his car. And what actually got me to start racing for him was that he bought a car from us. Him and Tina bought a car from us, and then Tina couldn't drive it. So they had it open. I hopped in that car and I won the feature the first time out with it against some very, very stout competition. Okay. Um, I'm going to read John's comment just because this is hilarious. I don't necessarily agree with this sentiment, but John says, I'm an ass, so I can say it. The way it was explained to me is you will get better results jerking off with sandpaper than getting a ride locally. He's not necessarily wrong. Okay. Um, when Earl put me in that car that first night, he knew I built the car, so I knew it really well. He had watched me race for a long time, few years. He knew my reputation. I had had this same car for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We built Lucy here originally in 2015. This car is 9 years old at this point. I raced it for 7 seasons. It has a tweaked right front frame rail. It still has both doors on it that we originally built it with. The only reason I replaced one of the fenders was because it was slightly bent and I had a little bit better one. We have replaced the fenders since then, but it's because I swapped the front bumper and I needed different ones. All original quarter panels and everything. Like, I am really easy on equipment for the most part. So Earl knew putting me in that car that I wasn't going to go out and do something stupid and total the car out. Okay. If you are new to racing, if you don't have that on track experience, having someone willing to put you in a race car on a race night and to pay for it is really, it's a very, very, very big uphill battle. Okay. Me personally, the idea behind a dock is that I can put other people in him to race occasionally. Okay. Um, that may or may not happen next year based on me getting my fast cars done or getting the Cavi done to maybe put someone in it. Now, when I say that I want to put people in it, the goal for me with those projects, with the idea of this project, is that I can take people who are, maybe they've driven modifieds or late models or street stocks and they've never driven a front wheel drive, and I can watch them race those cars and know that they have an understanding that, hey, slow down a little bit. And I can put them in there and I can film the content of them going out and racing a front wheel drive for the first time. And I know the car is fast enough for them to have fun, but not fast enough that I have to worry they're going to grenade everything, right? Um, but it's still a big risk for me to put even them in it because a front wheel drive handles differently. I don't have a lot of money. That's why I've sat out. If I wreck Doc, if he is totaled out and someone's racing for me, if I put someone in my car and we do not have a conversation beforehand that they are financially responsible to race it, you know, then I could be out everything in that car. Because if you wreck hard enough, you'll break everything: motor, tranny, car, most of the parts. Okay. I can be out a lot of money. Okay. Now, having said that, it's possible. I don't want you to not have the idea that it is possible. But where you are going to have a lot of success is, and Justin here says, awesome. Thank you so much for the information. I raced bump and runs. I also had a 97 Nissan Altima I was building for asphalt. Yeah. A really good way to go about it is to have friends, family that you can either help race, so you can help them work on their car. You can learn from them. You can have them help you work on your car, things like that. Get into the world of stock car racing. Okay. Go to the racetrack. See if somebody needs some help. If you're Justin, I don't know where your race at. If I'm at a racetrack next year and you can make it out, you can come hang out in the pits with us. I have no issue with that, right? I'll happily show you what I can. And that offer is extended to most everyone. There's some of you I don't particularly care for, but I'm not going to name names. But that is a great way to get your foot in the door. And if you are helping someone enough and you are an asset to them, maybe they'll let you practice the car so you can get your feet wet going out on the track, being able to race. I can't say yes or no, but not having the experience to be able to have a resume to say, I win races, I can fabricate, I can fix anything that's broken, I can build all that kind of stuff, right? Without having that type of experience, you are pushing a giant boulder up a hill, okay? But if you've got a buddy who races and you're willing to go over to the shop with no expectations, don't go over there expecting, well, if I help him out enough, he'll put me in the car. Just go over to hang out with your buddy and help work on his race car, okay? And you might be surprised where that leads, because maybe they can help you put the cage in your car, maybe they can help you with some setup, maybe they can help you get your safety gear. But I will also say, Justin, if you have any plans of racing for someone else or plans of racing yourself, I know the bump and run rules are a little different, okay? Get your safety gear. Get a good fire suit, get some gloves, get shoes, get a good helmet, a head and neck system. And if you have those things where you could climb into somebody else's car head to toe with proper safety gear, that helps a lot. If you're like, hey man, can I borrow a suit? Can I borrow gloves? Can I borrow a helmet? Can I borrow a Okay. If you are serious about racing, these are all things you should have for yourself. But you do stand a higher chance of being able to get in someone's car if you have the proper safety equipment. Okay. Also, if someone is looking at, if you're talking to somebody about that, offer to be like, hey, look, I'd be willing to pay for damages. I'd be willing to pay for this or that. That'll go a long way too. if I had somebody come up, Flipper made the joke here earlier. So Flipper made the joke of all, and if they wad it up, you get a late model and modified. So Kyle got to drive my race car one night. This was back in the day. This was I think 2010. Okay. Kyle was the announcer at Springport that year, and they had an officials race. And the idea was that various track officials would go out and run race cars. Kyle was supposed to drive a car, and they backed out. And he was upset about it, rightfully so. He was sad. And a friend was there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Kyle's flyer." I'm like, "Well, message him, tell him he can drive my car." And mind you, this is like 10 minutes before that race is supposed to happen. And Kyle comes flying up in his Geo Metro, ridiculously excited. Now, mind you, I had the giant sideboard on, 4x sheet Lexan. It was fast, but it was crazy because if you went into the corner and you lifted and turned and touched the brakes, it would snap the rear end around on you because it had all the front grip. And so I told him, "Hey, just don't hit the brakes and do this and that. Like, it'll be loose on you. You got to drive it out." And I'll give Kyle credit. I've watched him since then. Kyle's a pretty good wheelman. He was super excited, and he went out. And the funny thing was, he was racing against a modified with tires and wing and all this that was the fastest car at this event, which was like 5 seconds faster than my car. Like, it was stupid fast. And then there were 2 tube chassis, template bodied late models on 10-inch slicks, and he is in a Dodge Neon. So they throw the white flag, and Kyle goes boom, and he takes off. And he didn't quite have the speed going into 1. He didn't quite have the speed going into 3. Well, the next time he came around into turn 1, he was at full speed, and Kyle decided to hit the brakes and turn at the same time. And I thought he was going to back that sumbitch in the wall because it stepped out on him real hard. And I'm like, "Get in the gas, get in the gas, get in the gas." Mind you, I was announcing at the time. We swapped places. And I was like, "Get in the gas, Kyle." So it took him a few more laps to get back up to speed after that because holy shit, it was actually loose. We get done with that race, and it was great fun. Kyle finished second, which was hilarious. I think he got lapped twice, maybe 3 times by Mike Stenberg, who was a modified driver driving the fastest car on the property. But he comes up afterwards and he said something about, like, "I can't believe you let me race that. Like, what if something would have happened?" And I kind of chuckled and I said, "I would have brought mine to your house and you could have the wrecked husk of a car that you did, and I would have came home with either the modified or the late model that you owned at the time, whichever one I thought was better." And he kind of went, and he didn't realize that that was my backup plan, that if he junked my shit, I was going to go to his house and take one of his cars. So I had a backup plan. Now, he did great, didn't put a scratch on it, had a ton of fun, gained a tremendous amount of respect for what we did at the time. But yeah, that was the story. Like, and he thought it was really funny, and so did some other people. And I was being funny, but I was also being serious. So, that's part of, if you wreck somebody's car, keep that in mind that they might show up and just take your car as well. So, yes. Now, to go backwards a little bit, you're saying I can't race and hate dudes like Tyler Carpenter does? Tyler Carpenter's a dumbass. I'll say it. I'd say it to his face. If your old lady looks that good, I don't know why you're talking to the pit lizards. Anyways. And Drew even says, "We got a kid in our shop that just showed up one day. Now he's in one of Derek's cars. He's been around for a few years now. Only reason he is in one of Derek's cars is his is now gone. Not his fault, but car's toast." Yeah, and listen, and they brought this up too. As John says, you can total a car out from a part breaking and it's nobody's fault also. Yeah, that's what happened to me at Bristol. Straight up. I don't know if everybody remembers this picture. I don't know if everybody has seen this picture. I'm going to pull these up and then I can share them. These are from Britt Van Meter, which Britt was awesome. I didn't save all of them. So here, I'll show you the video. I'll just show you this video real quick. How do I pause this? Where is the pause buttons? There we go. Why is there no pause button? Why can't I rewind this? Okay. So this is just to back that up. This is there you go. This was me going into turn 3 at Bristol and the right rear broke off. The hub broke. I still do not know how John Ketron in that 26 did not hit me. I got to get him on the show. Yeah, the right rear broke off. Like, that's what happened. It's just the right rear broke. And I could have done some real serious. I did a lot of damage. We bent fucking everything, right? So, like, that's the other part of it with being in somebody else's car. So yeah. So like, and I again, Justin, I say this with all sincerity. I really do hope it works out that you're able to drive a car. That you can work your way up. I just want you to be realistic. That like chances are low. I only know of a couple people who have car owners. And Earl and I split amicably. Earl and Tina, that they got out of racing. We split amicably. We made a deal. I bought these cars. So that's why I have them. That's why I'm super excited about it. That's why I have a pile of parts and stuff. It cost me some money. But yeah. So just keep that in mind. Dude told me at Atomic he was going to make NASCAR media lose their minds. Dude, Tyler's something. And like, more power to him. More power to him. He's won races I'll never get to race, but there are a lot of guys who race top level series who wouldn't be there if their family wasn't what it was. Like, would Bobby Pierce be the monster that he is right now if he wasn't a Pierce? I don't know. Would he have gotten the opportunity to drive what he was driven at the age that he did if he wasn't a Pierce? Probably not. Moran, like, there are some guys who are second and third generation who got put in top level rides. Tyler Carpenter, if it wasn't for his dad, would he be where he is? I don't know. Maybe. Like, he can drive. He just, if you hop out of a car wearing "Hey Dudes," you're a dumbass. So yeah. My dad and I just bought a Civic hatchback, building from scratch. We came from a late model background. Amazing. All the things we need to learn. Feel like a lost puppy. Listen, Jake, make it safe. Okay. And everything else from there is just try to make it the best that you can. My biggest piece of advice is don't listen to people that tell you how drastically different it is than your late model. The only thing that you need to wrap your head around is that when you get in the gas on your late model, you needed some weight to go back there. And in your front wheel drive, you want the weight to stay up there. If you can wrap your head around that from the flag stand until the time I get in the gas, you want the same thing. You want a front wheel drive to do the same thing as a rear wheel drive. You want it to turn in, you want it to brake, you want it to roll through the corner. But when you get in the gas, you need the weight to stay on the left front of a front wheel drive, and you need it to go backwards in a rear wheel drive. You have to find that balance. So wrap your head around that, and you will be surprised at how easy it comes. Also, cross, don't mix it up. Just use the number that it is. Lower is better. Like, to a point. Like, I'll race that bad boy at 30% cross. Like, somebody laughed at me and said that I was lying to you guys when I went to Bristol, when I said I took a car that was 32% cross. I was practicing at Salem. Was it Salem we were at? I think so. at 30% cross. Like I could show you the picture from VCTS scales. I was on that track at 30% cross. I will drive this shit out of a loose race car at 30% cross, 32% cross, 34% cross. Some guys can't go below 45. Okay. So yeah. Also, I do want to comment on this. So to tell you guys a quick funny story, which if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to throw them out. I have basically covered the things that I would like to cover tonight. So now we are just kind of BSing and I'm answering questions. So I told you guys about the month of November, the month of December, racing plans, where I've been for the last 5-6 weeks, and things going forward. So if you have some other questions, throw it out there. But Kyle commented, also negotiate trophy rights beforehand. Okay. And Jake, listen, buddy, just search Fretwell Discussion and go backwards. And I promise you, if you have a question, I've probably answered it in some form or another. It might be hard to find, but you can always shoot me a message and I will try to help you what you want. Try to point you in the right direction. So, but John, my brother-in-law, John Culp, in the comment section here, has multiple rear-wheel drive cars. Also has some enduro cars, Ford Escorts. He had a Ford Escort GT, and a few years ago, John was the first car in line, and I was the second car in line to go out for practice at Kalamazoo for Super Shoot. And I'm kind of excited about that because I get to go out and kind of set a pace. And I'm gonna hug John close because I'm gonna pass him pretty quick. But I might get some track space. I might be able to rip a lap. Like this is gonna be great. And I follow John out on the track, and we go kind of half a lap or so as everybody pulls out, and they throw the green, and John goes into turn 3, and the car doesn't turn. And it did initially, like it turned in, and he kind of went to the apex. And then he went almost all the way to the wall. And I went, holy shit. Okay. So I backed off slightly. We went down into turn 1, and John basically had the mentality of, I wonder if going faster will make it better. And so John went down into turn 1, like that car owed him money, and he was about to, pick it back up from it. And he went into turn 1 and did the same thing. And that car shot to the wall like crazy. And I went, okay, nope. And so I downshifted and we was gone. Okay. I was not about to do that. So what I didn't see is that John basically pulled right off the track after turn 2. He came down turn 2 and pulled into the infield. And he come pulling in, and he decided that year he wanted to concentrate on the rear wheel drive because the front wheel drive wasn't that much fun. And so he goes, hey, Flipper, which is our buddy Kyle Trinklane there. He says, do you want to drive? And Kyle says, yes, because he'd always wanted to drive a Super Shoot. And Kyle did not care that it was a giant pile of crap. And so they were trying to figure out a way to get this car to maybe not do that as violently as it had been. And they ended up putting 2 different tires across it for stagger that was something like, I don't know, like 8 inches of stagger. It was crazy. And the car kind of turns. And he went out, and one of you two will have to correct me. Was it the C or the D? Okay. Yeah, John says, he buried it into the corner, used every inch of apron, and it didn't help at all. Made it worse, actually, right? But I don't remember if it was the C main or D main that year. But Kyle went out and won the heat race and got a trophy and was ridiculously excited. Like, he'd always wanted to run Super Shoot, and he went out and he won a heat race and he got a trophy. Like, good on you, my friend. And actually, I think it was 2014 when that happened. So I set fast time. I also won the heat. All right, we're doing good, right? So Kyle went out and managed to win the feature, the C main or the D main, and I don't remember which one. And there's this awesome picture of him standing on the roof of this car. Like, he was as excited to win that race as I think I've ever seen anybody win anything. And more power to him, man. Like, he should have been excited, right? Again, Kyle had always wanted to race Super Shoe, and John just says, hey, bud, you want to drive this car? And he said, yup. And he just hopped in it to have fun because Kyle's about that life. Like, he doesn't care. It can be a massive pile of crap. He'll race it. And managed to win both the heat and the feature. And you get a trophy for both. And so now Kyle has driven for other people before. John has, they know the typical car owner arrangement. And I was under that arrangement with Earl, where the car owner gets the winnings. Except I had made a deal with Earl that I got to keep anything that wasn't money. For the most part. I think I won some tools or detailing stuff sometime that I gave to Earl. But like I won a bottle of whiskey one time, which was kind of fun. I kept that. I've kept every trophy I ever won, championship trophy, stuff like that. But like my championship winnings, Earl got. My race winnings, Earl got. Same things like that. Okay. Well, John walks up and asks Flipper, he says, so the owner gets the winnings, right? And Kyle says, yes, absolutely. And he said, awesome. And John walked up and he grabbed those trophies off the top of John's car, right out from under Flipper's nose. And I was there for it. And I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen a grown man on the verge of crying like I did Flipper. Because he went, ah. And John, he says, but I get the trophies. And John says, did you win them? And he said, yes. And he said, so they are winnings. And he said, well yes. And John is the kind of guy that he took them sons of bitches home. He did not let that joke play out there. He took them home. Took them that night and then left with them. And it was amazing because Flipper was so dejected. So dejected. Not that I don't like Flipper and not that I don't want to see him happy. And now, mind you, John and Kyle go way back racing trucks together, short track truck series. Like they've been friends for years, had a ton of fun together. Okay. So like it's not like it's just some random dude in that. But he took those trophies home. Now, the nice part is that John is asshole enough to take them home, but nice enough, Kyle is now in possession of those trophies. So eventually he did give them back. But it was one of the funniest things I've ever been involved with that I had absolutely nothing to do with. So that is the running joke. And I have since said I've driven John's Enduro cars a couple times, and I've straight up said if I manage to win, I am taking the fucking trophy home with me. I'll give you the $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. I don't care. I am taking the trophies home. So that's been our arrangement since the couple times I have driven for John. So yeah. Mr. Night Wrencher, what's up, buddy? Asks if I'm going to SEMA. I'm not going to SEMA this year. I was not able to make it happen. I do appreciate your efforts to help me try to get to SEMA this year. It is not in the cards for me this year. If you go back and you watch the first bit of the show, this year has slapped the shit out of me, especially the last couple months. I've been sick. I had to get my pole barn done, which the government now says is done. I have all my final inspections. But I do not even remotely close have the money to come to SEMA. I couldn't afford to eat, let alone to fly out there or stay there. Now, I will be at PRI. So I hope you can also make it to PRI. Speaking of which, John, if Mr. Night Rancher makes it to PRI and he is alone, you and I will have to talk about him possibly hanging out with us at PRI. So he's a cool dude. Like, he's not loud like me. Like, he's actually a cool dude. So, yes, I am going to PRI. I will be at PRI hell or high water. So, and I am MPMC. I am trying to get to MPMC. So it is going to be 1,000% if I can afford to. That is it in its entirety. If I can afford to take effectively the week off work and pay for the trip. So that is the goal. So yeah. Oh, and somebody had asked a question. We'll answer that here in a second. Because Top Row Lewis says the goal is to go to PRI for the first time. Our district's high school always sends their engine build team there before they go to Vegas. Dude, you really need to go. You really, really do need to go, Lewis. It is awesome. If you like race cars, and you honestly, Top Row, you can get a media pass. You will have to sign up for PRI, but you can get a media pass, which does give you also, and I swear to God, I'm doing it this year. You are allowed to get in an hour early, so you could walk around and film with nobody there. The way you film, dude, you could walk around with 1 or 2 GoPros. Honestly, if you want to go, holler at me. I can help you plan some content-y type of stuff. You will have a blast. It'll be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of racers who go. So, but I will say, Mr. Night Wrencher, that I hope you can also make it to PRI. So, Matthew says, this may be a stupid question, but why do some dirt racers not like front-wheel drive cars and rear-wheel drive cars racing in the same race/class? Me and Kyle Keach might have to make the trip down and attend PRI for their first time. Dude, if you guys can attend PRI, you really should. It's a ton of fun. You get a lot of free stuff. You get a bunch of stickers and cane koozies and swag and stuff. And you get to see some really cool stuff and talk to some companies about stuff. Like the amount of products that I have figured out and companies that I figured out exist because of PRI is awesome. Like that is actually how I managed to get driven. I just managed to talk to the right person the first time to get hooked up with Driven. So they were the only one of my big corporate people that I was able to talk to. But yeah, it costs you like $40 to become a member of PRI, and then you get into the show for free. So, but and just real quick, I am 1,000% okay with PRI charging a membership fee for a couple reasons. One, the PRI show is worth the cost alone. Okay, if you cannot go and get your money's worth out of the PRI show, you don't know, like you're doing it wrong. First off, just all the free shit. Straight up, like we have limited ourselves. The first, like I'm not kidding you. I have the first year we went, I came home with like one of these full of shit free. Okay, you can end up with t-shirts and hats and the amount of stickers you can get, pens, like keychains, chapstick. Like I don't use a lot of chapstick, but I use PRI chapstick all the time, right? Um, but you just the amount of race cars you can see. PRI is only race cars. SEMA, and I'm gonna go to see it. The goal was to go this year. This year didn't work out. I do want to go next year. SEMA has like diesel trucks and bro trucks and like all sorts of random stuff. Okay. However, PRI is race cars, not just stock cars. So you'll see drag racing, you'll see, drifting, you'll see Indy cars, you might see an F1 car. There's all sorts, and there are like tractor pullers and like there are some diesel stuff, but it's basically it's race car stuff, right? But they have different seminars. They've got like just different and there are companies who run specials at PRI. Velocita every year you can save hundreds of dollars off a suit. Raceiver's always running a show special. You can get stuff cheap. Proform, go the last day. They don't want to pack the shit up. They'll sell you shit cheap. Speedway Illustrated. You can go get Speedway Illustrated for $10 and they give you the t-shirt right there. There's so much stuff that you could get. Like $40 to get into that show is a deal in and of itself. The second reason why I am okay with that, PRI has combined with SEMA and they use that $40. They use the money that they collect for membership. SEMA and PRI actively fight for our rights as car enthusiasts. Some of you might not think it's a big deal, but there are laws trying to be passed through the EPA, through Congress and stuff like that, that would literally eliminate what we do. There are people trying to push a law that if your car came with a VIN number, you are not allowed to turn it into an off-road only vehicle. You must maintain stock emissions at all times. Catalytic converters, stock engines, evap systems, everything, stock computer tuning. You are not allowed to effectively do what we do with these cars. They are actively seeking to eliminate what we do. That car has a VIN. That car has a VIN. Your race car has a VIN number. Now, do not come at me with, well, that's because that political party. No, because if that political party started it, that political party didn't stop it. They're both at fault. Okay. But SEMA and PRI actively fight for us in ways that I can't describe to all of you on here. I am perfectly okay donating $40 to those organizations for those reasons. Okay. That's why. Also, you get a cool magazine and you get into the show for free. So, and listen, Lewis, I'm telling you, as media, you get some cool stuff. So, you might even be able to talk to some companies about sponsorship and stuff like that. PRI is early December. I would have to look up the exact dates. So, okay. Now, I want to get back to the question of why some don't like mixing front wheel drive and rear wheel drives. Drew Davis says, I don't like racing with rear wheel drive cars in my front wheel drive, but that's because of what they let the minis become around here. The showdown at South Bend last year, I was second quick, and the mini was quick time, but he was 0.6 off. But he also said that he went faster in a Saturn than he ever did in his mini. Yeah, $40 also. Like last year was the first year that they charged $40 at PRI. And there used to literally be just like random people who would go in there and just grab handfuls of shit and just be assholes. And it cut down on them. It did not hurt attendance. I don't think from what I could see, it didn't hurt attendance, but it did keep a lot of those people out there were like, well, it's free, so I could go. And like, because people are like, I ain't paying $40 for that. Cool. Stay awake, right? Now, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive thing. I agree with Drew a lot in what he said. I won't lie to you guys at all. I am exceedingly surprised how well Super Shoe went. Super Shoe this year, they decided to allow rear wheel drives to race with the front wheel drives, the Outlaws. Not the DOTs though, because well, they're on a slightly different tire. It's completely different. And, oh my God, that guy built a body to run the DOTs. And the guy who bitched the loudest about that ran Falcons the year before. Anyways, it can be done effectively. The Midwest Dash Series and to some extent the National Compact Touring Series, they allow front and rear wheel drives. They have parity because they don't allow certain things. It is easier to build horsepower in a mini stock in a rear wheel drive. It's not cheaper, but it's easier. Okay. And then depending on what they're allowed to do to the chassis, like the mini stocks around here, the Michiana ones, we're talking full aluminum bodies. None of them have like stock roofs and stuff like that. So like they have a lower center of gravity. They have the ability to do more with their cars. If the rules rein them back some, there can be some parity. Now on dirt, the biggest thing that I've seen and the few people that I've talked to, it is a lot of the lines that they drive. So rear wheel drive and front wheel drive do drive differently, especially on dirt where you're hanging it out differently. And there's some people who just don't like that. Now, I will say if a front wheel drive and a rear wheel drive guy are racing together and they both understand the difference in how they drive, you can drive courteously and it isn't an issue. I used to race against fucking street stocks and shit. I have been on the racetrack in a Dodge Neon running again. I have been on track and had the rocket car from Kalamazoo roll in outside of me. And it's the craziest thing I've ever had experience because I didn't lift and he did about 10 car lengths and he rolled in on me like I was parked and then got in the gas and he fucked and offed at the same time. Like it was nuts. He was only running about 4.5 seconds a lap faster than me. Right. But like I've had that happen. I also understood I'm running a run what you brung race, and I am the only front wheel drive car in it. So like I would tell some of the guys around me, like, I'm gonna still be there. Don't chop. You'll motor me, but I'll be there in the corner, right? But I also understand like how the difference in how they race. I can bury it in deeper. I'm not gonna run in on somebody and surprise them, but they're gonna beat me down the straightaway, right? So if you're courteous enough racing the two types of classes, even though they do race differently, it can be done. And but you have to have a rule set that allows that parity. There's some of the guys down south that run them rear wheel drives. They're late models, like they have full aluminum bodies. They're effectively tube chassis with Mustang motor in them, so like a four cylinder. So it depends on the parity. Like if you take a stock front wheel drive and you race it against them, they don't like it. But also, there's a lot of rear wheel drive guys that just don't like losing to a front wheel drive. It's that simple. Like they get their panties just wadded up. So yeah, that's a few of the street side guys got buttered when their neons are faster. I can tell you that there were a few guys who egos got busted because I didn't have a real race car. Dude, I never raced this car against them. Like it wasn't like we were even that fast. Like we were mid 18s at Springport and running against them high 18s and busting their ass. And I got this car got down to a 17.5. Like it's a full second faster. And a few of those guys are upset about it. So yeah. And Pete says, "You're saying the big car companies don't want us messing with their shit after we have purchased them?" Yeah, they're a bunch of. Yeah. Honestly, Pete, it's not the car companies. It's not. It's the government. It's the EPA, and they're massive, overreaching. So, because dude, you think Stellantis cares what I do with a Dodge Neon? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Which voice? I guarantee I can do it again. I just don't know which one you're talking about. Yeah. And Denise, yeah, they were crying at Freedom Factory when a front drive beat their ass. Yeah. The first 2-3 years when the Carolina guys were mud stomping everybody, yeah, everything was right in the world because they were superior. And then Paul went down there and put it on them and put it on them good. And then all of a sudden, well, if we were allowed that kind of motor and we weren't allowed this and we weren't allowed that. And it's like, yeah, so you guys suddenly didn't have tires that were half a second faster. You're on the same tires as us. And, Paul in this inferior chassis in this inferior car. Yeah. And the whole like, he had more motor. No, the fuck he didn't. I watched a few of those guys. He did not have more motor than they did. He was out turning them. But yeah, that's exactly it. There were 3 or 4 guys who thought it was the best thing ever because the front wheel drives they normally ran against they were way more limited than the rear wheel drive guys. So like they'd never lost to a front wheel drive. And all of a sudden Paul comes in there and slaps them around. And then all of a sudden it's a big deal. And oh my God. And so but there was some egos busted. Like Paul busted the shit out of their egos. Like I was hoping it would be me, but I only went down there the 1 year. But yeah, Paul kicked shit out of him. Like props to Paul. So yeah. And yeah, like Kyle said, back in the day, we ran real drive, front drive at Owasso. We had a blast. Like you said, it was racing with respect. Yeah. Mind you, back in 03, 04, 05, the mini stocks that they had, like he said, Mustangs, Cougars, Sunbirds, K cars, Cavaliers, S10s, they all won. The cars back then and the cars now, not quite the same. So Owasso Speedway, the place is sweet, but the amount of upgrades they've done, that track is sweet. Yeah, dude, he's put like $2 million into that place. So, yeah, I was having this conversation with a friend today. When Rex came into Owasso, I had heard it before. I haven't even been around racing that long. I'd heard it before. There was another track owner, Jerry Rabbers, and I'll say his name because fuck that guy. Jerry Rabbers came into Springport and we're gonna repave the track. We're gonna do this. We're gonna add this lighting. We're gonna do this. We're gonna pave the pits. Like he had $5 million worth of upgrade. He supposedly owned this big bad trucking company. And opening night, he didn't pay half the racers and just fucked everything, all the shit. So when Rex came in and some of the people he had in management, we can talk about it in the subscriber group, publicly positive. Yeah, I was not convinced. Like, I wasn't convinced. I was like, oh, yep, here we go again, And Rex is a completely different person. First off, Rabbers had like 2 trucks. Um, um, Wheeler Trucking, Rex Wheeler, completely different operation. Like Rex actually has the money that Jerry tried to convince people he did. And so, Rex came in and says, we're going to repave the place. And they repaved the place. He said, we're going to upgrade the pits. And they upgraded the pits. Like, we're going to upgrade the lights. They upgraded the lights. Like, when Rex says he can do something, it gets done. And yeah, he's, I went over, we visited this year. We took Ben over, my buddy, Mike Westfall race. So I took Ben to Owasso. And yeah, like it was insane. Like that place is insane. And what they're planning to do, like they're moving the bleachers onto the backstretch and building this big, huge luxury place. Like it's going to be insane. My own personal belief, this is just my opinion. I think Rex's vision of Owasso is much bigger than just local short track racing. And I think short track racing is benefiting from it. And I think Owasso has a place to spend all that money. But there were times that Springport on the same night would have a higher car count and Kalamazoo would have a higher car count. So even though Owasso is spending $2, $3, $4, $5 million and has an 8-phase plan, I still believe that a lot of other racetracks can compete and can have their show and can do really well. So I wish Owasso and Rex nothing but the best. The plan is to go up there and race next year. I wanted to this last year. I plan to this year. I am a feature winner at Owasso. I am a previous Owasso Nationals winner. I've won the National Series race up there. Like I love the old Owasso. So I want to race a new one. But yeah, Rex is doing some crazy things at Owasso, like absolutely crazy things. Yeah, they just built this brand new giant, like state of the art tech barn, which would be really cool. And hopefully they use it. Yeah, and they do have Owasso has a truck class, and it's a stock truck class. And this was one, and I am in no way, shape, or form saying this was my idea. Credit. I had that idea long ago with the pure stocks. I was like, they should have a truck class. And the idea is like just newer, like just trucks, 1/2-ton trucks, 3/4 tons of stuff. And like, you can't do anything to them. Like you can't lower them and stuff. And it was just something I'd said years and years and years ago. But yeah, they have one, and they had that class before Rex got involved, and they just kept it. So yeah, they do some pretty cool stuff. Like, and again, I wish Owasso nothing but the best. Like, I don't have negative things to say about Owasso. I do, but it was like their concession stands and stuff. But that'll all be fixed in the next phase that they're building, and even that wasn't. So yeah, as Pete says, until and this is what I've heard. So and I've seen it firsthand. Owasso used to be a completely different track. So the surface at Owasso, you'd run high in 1 and 2, and you'd run low in 3 and 4, and like it had some unintentionally progressive banking, and like there was no wall on the backstretch. Like Owasso had a very, very, very different track and different feel before the repave. And that is gone. Good, bad, and different, right? But it's not the same. And because it's fresh pavement and it's even, like it drives differently. It's fast as shit. Like the front wheel drive track record went from like people were barely trying to break into the 17s. Like I think 17.9 and shit. I think now the track record is like a 16.6. I think LZ's got it like a 16.6. Like it is way faster, but it's just as different. It's not the same. I can't comment on racing on the new surface because I haven't done it. I can only tell you what I've seen, like what I've watched, and it's not the same. So yeah. But yeah, Michigan Cup had the most cars of any postseason show this year. Yeah. Yeah. Straight up. So yeah, it seems all tracks that get new paving become one group tracks for a few seasons. NASCAR drivers really complained about North Wilkesboro when they repaved it. Yeah, it's honestly one, like, if they put the progressive banking in and there's enough speed, like, it can be a multi-track groove track. Like, I truly believe if Kalamazoo got repaved the same shape that it is, that it could be a 2-groove track, absolutely. Springport probably not, just because the second groove is so much. Now rear-wheel drive guys might be able to, but like a front-wheel drive, we just yeah. So, um, but I'm not going to complain. They just announced today that Irwindale Speedway is shutting down out in California, out in LA. Um, Rockford just closed. Like, racetracks are closing. So I am never going to, like, I'm not upset that Owasso repaved and Owasso added 745 million feet of concrete in the pits, and Owasso built this new tech barn, and Owasso is building these great big grandstand. Like, I'm not going to complain about that because Owasso didn't get sold and a warehouse went up. Like, I would rather Owasso have been bought by Rex and Rex have these giant ambitions. That way, so this thing is blinking. I should probably check and make sure that the battery on that is good. Yeah, there we go. I was just making sure my charging cord is working like it's supposed to. Actually, I tell you what, I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to stand up and just make sure that the microphone isn't going to cut out on that real quick. Oh yeah, my belt's undone. Don't worry, I told you I was going to. Nah, we're still good. We got plenty of battery on that. All right. I don't know why this one was dying. Look, my belly hangs over, and that was yeah. All right. So, glad to have Babyton. Oh, Barberton. Yeah. Barberton. Yeah, I went down to Barberton. Barberton's a pretty cool track. So, I think it was Barberton. Yeah, it was Barberton. When I went down to see Kenny and them. So yeah. No one seems to know what's going on with Winston still after sitting for 2. Yeah, and that's entirely. Oh, hold on, my table's about to collapse. Come on now. Like, that's exactly it. Like, we've been Wausau Speedway in Wisconsin closes here. What was the other one? There was another one that closed over there, like Lake Park, Deer Park, or something like that. Because Kyle Stark was the last one to win, and then they decided to run another race. So yeah. State Park. Yeah. Or a pasture. Yep. Montville Speedway was bought by a church. Montville also had yeah. Montville closed when the owner died, and then had some other people running it, and then somehow I only have my information on Facebook, but that turned into somehow all of the buildings got condemned, and then church stepped up and bought it and was going to build their new church there, and I don't know, we'll see, but it'll never be a racetrack again. But yeah, we've lost a few, like South Bend. South Bend is another one that the owners bought Plymouth, put money into Plymouth, made Plymouth nicer, and I don't know what's going to happen to South Bend now. They basically just sort of abandoned it. They've been trying to sell it. Nobody stepped up and bought it. And as far as I know, there won't be any racing going on. So now, if somebody has different news than that, please speak up. Like, I wanted to go to South Bend. So yeah, they don't own Plymouth. It's a lease. Oh, yeah. We don't either. That was our home track, and no racing. Yeah, I know. There's no racing at South Bend. Yeah, it's up in the air. I know if you criticize the owners, they'll talk shit about you and block you some. So, seen it happen. Michael and Emma Brewer want to know, when will we see you back in the front drive, Todd? Next year for sure. We're gonna get Doc ready and try to get one of these two cars out next year as well. So yeah. Anyone seeing that video going around of an owner kicking the dude's dirt late model down in West Virginia this past weekend? No, not the owner. And Mary and I are going to spend time in Nashville next week, so I'm bringing the race car. Dude, Pete, it's a blast, man. 2 years ago, I was down there this weekend. So yeah, that popped up in my memories. But dude, Nashville was a lot of fun. I wish I had the picture because I drove Dad's car down there a couple years ago, and I kept telling him how tight it was, and the car wouldn't turn, and he's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then there was a picture looking down, like somebody in a skylift looking down, and everybody's because there's lines painted, and everybody's race car is in their lane, and then here comes the 62, and that bitch is, and the right rear was, yeah. So yeah, yeah. So, just mind where you eat. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because Kyle went on that trip with us, and brother, I don't know what place it was on the way home, but let's just say I didn't have nearly as much fun on the road trip home as I did every other part of that. Choo choo train. Last I heard, South Bend, the auction wasn't able to pave the lot because of special protected trees. Yeah, so that was okay. So yeah, that was the last I heard. Is like Copart bought them or was going to buy them or car auction lot like that, and apparently there's some trees on the land that are protected, so they can't clear it and pave it. So that was the last I'd heard of it. So yeah, uh, Weber Valley Speedway's doing good. That's all that matters. Listen, I am so glad Weber Valley has found AI because they went from just shitting on front wheel drives to just being hilarious. So yeah, honestly, like I legitimately can't remember where it was that we ate, but it was some like offshoot of something. It was like a chicken place, but I can tell you, yeah, dude, Michael Lake, uh, oh yeah, the Logans. Oh my god, yes. Um, oh my god, yeah. We went to Logan's at night. It was the worst experience, the worst, um, the worst. Like I don't even want to talk about it. It was that bad. So yeah, independent used car dealer auction next door. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, dude, the Nashville entry list is stacked up pretty good. Like it's got all the usual VCTS guys, Starks, Pete Doxy's going, Dan Irvine's back in one. Yeah, not Copart. They're fucking up other tracks. Yeah, for sure. And Dave Leonard Jr. here. I had to go search for the name. But Newport Speedway was closed and abandoned, and someone bought it and put some money into it. Hopefully, the track becomes a good venue. Yeah. So straight up, I know what Dave's talking about here. Newport, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. They were the ones, it was like a Copart, like it was a junkyard. They were parking cars on it, and somebody bought it, cleared the place out, and like they were practicing on that racetrack like this year and they're like, yep, next year we're gonna race. And like it looks like a ton of fun. But yeah, it was straight up had been sold and was like a junkyard, and somebody came in and bought the land and opened it back up. And that's what happened to West Virginia Motor Speedway too. West Virginia Motor Speedway was closed, and somebody bought it and came in, and that track's a monster. It's like a 5/8 mile, but it looked like such a nice facility. They raced for a couple years, but it just never drew the cars because the track was just so fucking big. But like the bleachers were cut into a hillside, and it looked awesome. Yeah, and Pennsboro just reopened, just opened them up too. So yeah, and I watched a few of the highlights. Like Pennsboro is one of those that like it looked really cool, but like I don't know if the racing was as good as like. Now I didn't watch the whole thing, so like I can't actually say that. I just like some of the highlights didn't look like it was as good as it could be. But there's some other dirt tracks I feel that same way about. But yeah, Pennsboro just opened back up. That's why I understand some people. First off, don't let politics tell you how terrible the world is. Go outside, sun's still shining. Okay, stock car racing is still really healthy. Maybe not your local track, maybe not your area, but it is. Um, there are a lot, like, people, I don't think people understand just how many stock car tracks there are across this great country. Okay. In the state of Michigan, we have 3 drag strips. Okay. Um, like 3 like officially recognized drag strips. Stanton, Martin, and Milan. Okay. Um, we have 2 road courses, as far as I know. We have Gingerman and Grattan, right? I'll bet we got 15 or 18 stock car tracks that are open right now, right? And that's not including a couple that have just shut down recently. Okay. Um, Friday night, you can go to like 3 different racetracks. Saturday night, on a Saturday night, right? I could go race my front wheel drive as it sits, right? As well as it would sit, right? I like I could take Doc. Like if Doc was running and driving right now, if the brakes were good and had radiator fans, I could take Doc and go run Galesburg, Owasso, Springport, um, Berlin's iffy. Like I could make it legal for Berlin. I think Birch Run. Did I say Owasso? I could run M40. Um, I might be able to go run Onaway. And those are just the pavement tracks that I know of, right? Like same car. I could go race 6 different racetracks in the state of Michigan. And that's not including Ohio or Indiana. Like I personally am so spoiled. If I put a pin in my house and I draw a 2.5-hour drive circle, I have like 15 racetracks that I can go to, maybe 20 that I could go to watch or whatnot. I talked to some people out west that I'm like, well, why do you race there? They're like, oh, it's only 3.5 hours away. The next closest track is 14 hours away. Yeah, racing might not seem so healthy in their area. In my area, we have 1,000 cars over the course of 3 days that'll race, right? They're splintered and are fractured, and like this track might only get 5 limited lates, and this track might only get 10 modifieds. But that track over there is getting 750 cars, right? And as Kyle says, such and such had 130 cars. Yeah, but 40 of them were front wheel drive. Yeah, which means 90 of them weren't, but exactly, right? Yeah, like straight up. Pete says, super sad. My motor mount left the chat at Anderson. Car was good. Broken front end at Lacrosse. Hoping to run well down there. Luck's not been on my side this year. Dude, I get it. I've wrecked or blown up damn near everything I own, and other people do too. So yeah. But dude, isn't Anderson a ton of fun? I love Anderson. Like, I want to go race there some more. I love Anderson. I love that track. So I've been to Grattan. I've been there. Or no, what's the other one? Gingerman, Grattan. I thought there might be a third road course. Anyways, I have been to Grattan. I have a track record at Gingerman that will likely never ever be broken. So because the National Series went back there years ago, and I set fast time, and so yeah, so I have a track record at a road course. Finished third with the left front going bloop 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 and 0 brakes. I still finished third, so I would have won that bitch had like either of those not been bad. So Waterford Hills. So okay, so there's 3 Waterford Hills. I've not been to Grattan. I've raced Gingerman, and I've been to Waterford Hills. That was the other one I was thinking. So I don't know if Anderson is still doing their Thanksgiving Day race. So I want to visit Fonda. Yeah, Fonda's good. And Matthew says M40 is sweet. Backstretch above the pits. Something about that is cool. Only been there once though, dude. Matthew, you got to try to go to Shady Bowl. Okay. Shady Bowl is like if you took M40 and you broke it more. So M40, like the front stretch is almost flat at M40. Like it's got a slight up down, but like you kind of go into 1, then you come uphill, you go to back stretch, and then you go down into 3. Dude, Shady Bowl is like if you went like this. Like You go downhill into 3, uphill out of 4, downhill into 1, and uphill out of 2. Now M40 has the pits in the middle. Shady Bowl doesn't. Shady Bowl has the pits up top, but it's the same shape, dude. I love Shady Bowl. Now M40 is my highest percentage track that I've raced multiple times at. I've got a 75% win percentage at M40. I've won 3 out of the 4 races I've ran there, so I love M40. M40's been very good to me. M40 is the reason why I started racing for Earl. That was actually the track that I won at my first time ever going there, and yeah, so I won that race. So yeah, Shady Bowl has a creek running through it. So like it's straight up where the creek is. And it's more like the backstretch is bigger and higher, but like it's seriously like you go downhill, uphill, downhill, uphill. I love Shady Bowl. Like I've had speed at Shady Bowl. My best finish was 6th, but yeah. I'd had a really, really good run if my clutch had stayed inside my transmission the one time at Shady Bowl. So I want to go to Mount Lawn at some point too. Which by the way, the owner of Shady Bowl, like Rick Young, Rick is in the chat a lot. Like I give Rick a ton of credit. Like he watches the show, he participates, like, and he listens to feedback. Like I will give Rick at Shady Bowl that credit. I'm not gonna lie, like I've got some promoters that do not like the things I say and aren't as friendly to me anymore because of it. So, but Rick joins in, like he joins in the discussion, like he wants to talk about stuff sometimes. So yeah, I'm not gonna take the credit for this because I do not believe this is actually the thing. But Rick, we were talking one time, and I posted about on my personal Facebook page because Rick and I are friends on Facebook. I posted on my personal page about how to get kids into racing, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys race like these newer style cars?" And it's like, "Well, no, like we race these," and like, "Oh, cool. Well, like you've got like fuel injection and stuff like that, right?" No, fuel injection is the devil. Like we can't have that. And I'm like, oh, "Okay, well, like do you have anything like that?" Well, like we have these front wheel drive cars. Like, oh, cool. So like you'll support me in that? Like, God, no. Like we only have you here to pay the bills. We don't like you. We don't like your cars. Like it was kind of a jokey type of thing. But like the old guard in racing is absolutely terrified of fuel injection. And Rick and I had a very respectful conversation. Like, because there was some guys on there like, "Oh, you just want cash back." Like, no. Like, and Rick asked like legitimate questions about like, well, like, how do we stop someone from tuning the computer? And I'm like, you don't. Like, in a late model or a modified or street stock, like, are you limiting guys from tuning their carburetors or like the timing that they're running? And it's like, well, no. And it's like, okay, well, then why would you need to stop fuel injection? Be like, well, like tuning the computer. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but like, if I can adjust the timing with a distributor and I can adjust the fuel with a carburetor, why can't I adjust the timing with a PCM and adjust the fuel with a PCM? And and then and Rick asked the question about like, well, traction control, and I'm like, well, as far as I know, there isn't really a way to have traction control with the factory-based GM computer without having like wheel speed sensors. I'm like, it may or may not be possible. And I'm like, but you also have traction control for MSD boxes and carburetors and that, which is the size of a fucking quarter. Like Davis Technologies exists, like you have it in those cars as well. And we had like straight up, it's one of the most respectful conversations I think I've ever had on Facebook of like saying something outrageous and somebody being like, "Well, that's stupid," and you're like, "Well, it's not stupid. Here's why." And they're like, "Oh, well, what about this?" And you're like, "Oh, well, here's why. Actually, it makes sense. What about this?" And again, I am not taking any credit for this whatsoever. Like, I do not believe that was the thing. But like a couple years later, like Rick posted that like Shady Bowl was going to allow fuel injection in some classes, and like you could run like a fuel injected LS and stuff. And again, I am not taking any credit. Like but it was a conversation that Rick and I had, and as a racer, seeing a track owner willing to discuss that, whether it changes anything or not, like is amazing because I do not, and I will never understand why you can't run like a fuel injected LS1, like a fuel injected LS of any sort in a super late model or a modified or street stock, because it's like, well, then everybody would have to do it. No, you wouldn't. Like a carburetor makes just as much or more horsepower. Like there is 0 horsepower difference, you know. Well, I'm like, so it wouldn't obsolete anything. Like if somebody didn't want to run fuel injection, you wouldn't have to. You run a carburetor, you run a distributor, you run an MSD box, wouldn't matter. And you will have a lot of guys that hate, the devil spaghetti that is wiring harnesses, and you couldn't pay them to switch. But like a guy like me, I don't own anything carbureted. Like take that back. I got like a leaf blower and a lawnmower and like my Zephyr, right? I don't own a 350 Chevy. I don't own a 400 Chevy. I don't own a Holley carburetor. Technically, I do. There's one on the Zephyr, but it's a 1 barrel. But like that's the thing for me. It's like, but what I could do is I could pick up a rear wheel drive chassis cheap because they're out there all over the place, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, and then I could go buy a running driving pickup truck with a fuel injected 6-liter or a fuel injected 5.3, and I could put cams in it. Like I could put a camshaft in it and get a better intake for it, and maybe put a set of heads on it, and I could make 450 horsepower, 500 horsepower for a fraction of what it would cost to build a 383 or a 400, because I'm only putting a couple upgrades in. I got to buy a set of headers anyway. I got to buy a clutch anyway and stuff like that. But me as a guy who likes fuel injection, like I love wiring. Like I really do. Like I'm good at it. Like this car here, wiring harness from scratch. I started with a pinout of the PCM and running driving, only one in the world on that PCM. Like that was all me. Like I love doing that stuff. So for me to buy a running driving 6-liter truck, pull the wiring harness out, thin the wiring harness down, flash the computer, or, be able to tune it myself, or take it to like Force Engineering and have them tune it. And then I could just go buy another running driving 6-liter if something happens to that one. And, if all I do is put a better intake on it and a set of headers on it, yeah, I might not make 600 horsepower, but I'm putting $1,500, $2,000 motors in these things. And then I could put that kind of money in. And it's like, and that was the point I was trying to make, is like, if a guy, as John says, EFI is not fair to the guy that spends 40 kind of street side. Like that was just it. Like if the only motor rule you have is cast iron block, single 4-barrel carburetor, like why can't I run fuel injection? Like why couldn't I run an iron blocked 5.3 or an iron blocked 6-liter, and it's just a fuel injection, because you're not limiting that guy on the timing or fuel. So why should I be doing that either? Like it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, so props to Rick. Like we had a very respectful conversation, and a few years later he was open to giving it a try. So again, not taking the credit. 100% of that goes to Rick, but that's part of why Shady Bull's a little special in my heart, is stuff like that. So yeah. Matthew hasn't been to Kalamazoo? Bruh. Five Flags looks pretty cool. Dad got to race at Five Flags. It's just a long ways away. So, yeah. Winchester 400, Five Flags, Speedway for the Snowball Derby. Top 2 favorite tracks, or top 2 to go to. I want to go to Mount Lawn because, as Kyle said, it's built on an old baseball diamond. Like straight up, like home plate is turn 4. So, what's up, Logan? Kalamazoo's just been interesting the last year or two. Like they've been messing with the rules too much, I think. Like it's good racing. They are really messing with the front drive stuff. And I hope they can align themselves better with local tracks. Like the rumor I heard was that they were going to try something to try to rein in the Outlaws, and they were hoping that everybody else would jump on board, and everyone else was like, why would we fuck with our car count? So could be wrong. I don't know. It's just a rumor I heard. So guys, this is a 2-hour show, 2.5-hour show from the pole barn. Like, you guys, if you are just tuning in, I am sitting in my pole barn with my laptop, with a good camera, wearing my wireless mic, with internet out here. We passed our electrical inspection. We passed the final inspection for the pole barn. As far as the eyes of the government are concerned, we are done with the pole barn. I am sitting in my shop, in my garage. I'm staring at a big open space in front of me. I've got my race cars behind me. Like, it's pretty big. This is the first show from in here. Month of November, we're gonna post every day. May or may not like be live. Like we might just post a picture. We might do something like that. But month of November, we're gonna post every day. Month of December, we're gonna go live every day except for Christmas. I am gonna spend Christmas with my family. But it is just really, 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 really exciting to be in my shop. I still have some work to do. Like my toolbox is an absolute chaotic mess. Oh, that was gross. Sorry about that. Hopefully you guys couldn't see that. I do still have to. You can't see them. They're just at a camera. I do have the Gertz or Perlins or whichever. I do have to put the rest of those up. The government doesn't say I have to, but I do need to. And part of that is because I have a shit ton of banners from different companies and stuff like that. I want to hang up. I've got over here. I've got my Spartan Speedway Track Championship hoods. I've got the hoods off from our every car that Dad or I have won or my mom have won a championship with. We've kept. So like I have the hood off from a championship car over here. I got to bring the one of Dad's inside here. Like I've got 4 or 5 hoods to hang up that are from that. I've got some body panels. Like you guys can't see it, but just off shoot. I had the hood off a modified. It was given to me for scrap. It looks pretty cool. But like I've got the doors off some of my old race cars to hang up. So I want to get the Gertz Perlins put up. Like the goal is to get that done in the next week or so. So I am hugely excited because I could work in here right now. Like the goal is in the next week or so, like to film some stuff in here to get it posted. We're gonna bring Doc in and work on it. But like it's just crazy to me that I get to do this now. Like I can go live from in here. I've got listen, by the way, the Ethernet cable, like that's straight up, like that's what this cable is. It's just ran into the house, plugged into the router for now. I'm gonna hook up a Wi-Fi router out here. However, right now, like I could take this cable and go all the way to the back corner. Like I've got like 40 foot of this cable, 50 foot in here. So, we still got work to do, but I am just so excited to be in my shop live with you guys. So, Tina says, I will tell you, KZoo is going ABC. There will be no rear wheel drive running with the front wheel drive. That would be awesome. Like, I really like, and I trust you, Tina, because like I know your connections. Like, I really hope they do that because the split of doing DOT with 0 changes to the rules except for DOT and Hoosiers, like, I really hope that they are actually going to do that because the way they did the rules this last year just set themselves up for exactly what happened. The guys who weren't winning the A main to be upset that they weren't winning the A main. Like I'm like Kalamazoo just upset me. There was 4 different major rule changes before the season started, and then they're like, "We don't know what happened," and it's like, listen to front wheel drive people. So that makes me happy. I'm not gonna lie, that makes me happy. What's up, Bobby Fowler? And Matthew says the first time I see you race in person, Todd, was Berlin back in the day. Back when we had a black and red 79 car. It would have been this one. Like straight up, it was this car. We built this in 2015. It's just not that anymore. So yeah. Yeah, I ran Berlin. I actually got to race once. We tried to race dirt in 2014, didn't work. Yeah, 2015, I got screwed out of a win there. I was leading and they said I would broke out, which I didn't, and I raced all the way back up to second. If you gave me 5 more laps, I'd have won that feature. So yeah, I like Berlin. Berlin is an awesome track. Jason says, what do you think about roll cages extended through the engine bay? I think that it can be okay and it can be bad. I do not believe in limiting it from a racetrack of a like the amount of times that, well, if we let them stiffen it up, they're just going to beat shit out of each other. And if you don't do that, they ain't going to hit it. They'll beat the shit out of each other anyway. Okay. But I don't believe I've seen guys hack the ever living shit out of this section here and like run it through and where it's just all straight pipe and like somebody's gonna get hurt from it. Like I don't like that. Now I personally like this car, okay, is not connected from the main roll cage past the firewall. Like main roll cage, gap, firewall, cage, and then you can see right here. And this is hard to do, by the way. Like I'm telling you, it's hard to do. Okay, but this bar right here, okay, like it goes from there. Okay, new car, however, I do have some bracing that goes from the cage outward from the center. I can't. You can kind of see. So this is a bar and it's attached to here, which is a brace that comes forward. It's thin wall, it's small. I do have that connected. I am not going to be connecting this part here back, but I do have that connected. Okay. The idea for me is that I am going to, it's so I could cut the roof off that car if and when I want to, right? To keep it stiffer. I believe in crush zones, 1,000%. If I hit something hard enough to wad the car up between the strut tower and the main cage, I want the car to give there because otherwise I'm taking the brunt of that impact. Like I'd rather total the car out than total myself out. I think you are pointing at a milk crate and not a bar. No. There's no milk crate over there. Okay, this side, let me see here. I'm just trying to okay. Yeah. This is okay, that's the no. This right here, that metal part I'm pointing to right here, that is actually a bar. And then it connects here. And I'm almost positive that that is the part coming through the firewall right here. May or may not be. It's really hard to tell. I tell you what, hold on. Let me go full screen and I'll actually be able to point it out slightly. Nope, you can't see it. Okay, I was wrong. This part that I was pointing at is actually, that's a toolbox. This part right here. This is actually a brake master cylinder. But this part down here, this shiny part right here is a bar. It's just the one going from left to right. On camera, you can't see in here like I thought you could. So you're partially right. And my bad. So yeah. And Kyle says, I seen Todd on dirt at Berlin before I even knew he was. Dude, if you see me on dirt at Berlin, you watch me not do very good. So yeah. Super late chassis have crushed. Yeah. People don't realize like super lates, NASCAR, stuff like that, especially new NASCARs. Like super lates, there's there was a very brief period of time where they were like a full on straight rail. But even now, like frame rails and stuff on cars, they have like a Z in them, like a U, a C, whatever. And they are built so that like when they hit, they will give. So yeah, bars are cheap, except for the bars in Nashville. Hey, sometimes you forget your license when you go to Nashville, though. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am starting to really fight hard not to cough. I'm seriously just getting over pneumonia. Like I hit my inhaler before I came out here. But I am fighting really, really hard not to cough. So I hate to do it because I think it's awesome that we're sitting here. But I think we're going to call it a night for right now because again, I don't know if you can tell, but I am fighting really hard not to cough. Thursday is Halloween, and it is my anniversary. Believe it or not. Oh, dude, Robin, I feel incredibly better considered to what I did 2 weeks ago. Like I had like 104.6 degree fever at one point. I feel so much better now than I did. I'm trying not to cough. So, but Thursday, I don't know if we are going to go live just because, again, Halloween, probably take my kids somewhere, and then it is my anniversary. We did get married on Halloween, but I am going to start Friday the 1st posting every day for November. So we may or may not go live Friday. I'm going to try to go live Friday, but you will see a post from us, maybe two, because I might make a post just in case during the day and then go live later. But we will do something from out here. Next week, I'm going to attempt to have at least one or two guests to interview. I've got a couple people I want to try to reach out to, see if they'll come on and talk. So that is the plan moving forward here quickly. So I cannot say thank you enough to all of you who are still here, who have come back, who are watching, who have definitely hit the like button already. There is a ton of you that have been in here tonight. Like I'm looking at this, it says we have like 120 likes, which is crazy. I'm sorry we've been gone. I'm sorry I've been gone. Life has slapped the shit out of me. If you are not doing well physically or mentally, I said it before tonight. I said it again. I'll continue to say it. There's no shame in trying to get some help. Talk to somebody, talk to a professional. If you've been having a lot of dark days, a lot of dark thoughts, listen, I've been there. That's been me a lot lately. Things are really going in a positive direction for me right now. I am good. Okay. I hope you are too. Okay. I want to see you next year. I want to talk to you. Okay. So if you need to reach out to somebody, talk to them. Okay. If you don't have any friends, if you can't get a professional for one reason or another, reach out to me. It might take me a minute. I promise I'll try to reach back out to you. Yeah. That's what I got. Thank you guys for being here tonight. This means a lot more to me than people might realize. So I love you all. I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to see you all again very, very soon.